This is Community Formation, a podcast made by and for the Twilight Imperium community.
Yo, happy Halloween, Frox.
Happy Halloween, my man. Got any, like my area, I don't get any trick-or-treaters, like at all. Even the porch light's on and going back. Do you think you got that going on over there?
Oh man, I don't know, but I'm gonna see. Like I honestly bought like way too much candy. And I don't eat sugar really anymore.
Oh,
Like it was pretty ridiculous to like get so much candy when I knew that I was just gonna like end up with a bunch of it. And I feel like I can't eat any of it,
Well, I know what you can do if you have too much. You put it in an unmarked bag and drop it off at a school.
Oh.
I think that'll be your best bet.
Hey,
yeah,
that's such a great idea, Frox. Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely.
That's what someone literally did at my work, and I had to deal with that. That was great. I was like super happy about that.
Yikes. Freaky, yeah. Yeah, man. Did you do anything fun for the Halloween weekend holiday thing?
Doing a lot of Arkham Horror. That's pretty thematic, right?
That's pretty thematic for sure.
We might do a little bit of that tonight with you and JJ, depending on plans. Other than that, I'm not a big Halloween guy. Everyone like dressed up at work, and there was like costume contests, and I just showed up in my normal clothes and was a Debbie Downer and got called a loser all day. It was kind of great.
That's funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah. I mean, I'm not huge on celebrating it necessarily, but I enjoy a good time when it rolls around. I dressed up as a farmer. I got a kick-ass pair of overalls and a trucker hat and one of my little flannels underneath, and was able to go to a party, drank kind of a lot of whiskey gingers, which was pretty fun. And I don't know, it's just a good time. You know what I mean? It was just like a silly, fun, kind of relaxing
costume
weekend.
Was on point. I loved it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great.
Well, it wasn't much, but it was honest work.
Oh, exactly. And now I've just got this pair of overalls, so like we'll
Those
see.
are like in chic right now, man. So I think you're good.
They're great. It's a good quality pair too, so I don't know. So we'll see like what happens when the spring rolls around. Maybe I'll get some of those like raised beds in here, actually have a reason to be wearing the overalls or something. Like,
oh, hot dog.
Yeah,
that
we'll
sounds
see
awesome.
how
I
it
have a few of those
goes.
out back. It's pretty nice.
Oh, that's tight. So Frox, can you tell me what we have on the episode? Did you know that this is like episode 8? Did you know?
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh,
We've done a few
God.
of these already.
Yeah, man, it's like
Yeah.
flying by. I feel like we just have like this backlog of ideas we're like going through. But that's like a big shout out to everyone coming up with stuff for us to talk about. Honestly,
Absolutely.
it's like
I
great.
really feel like we just got more and more and more material. Like it's almost a struggle of like, oh well, I want to talk to this person. Like I keep I'm telling Teaspoon like we're gonna have you on, and he's like. It's so funny with Teaspoon. He's like, I keep doing all these great things just to try and get on the show. And you guys don't have me on the show. You don't love me. You just don't love me.
Well,
no, we love
he
you,
knows that's a
Teaspoon.
flat out falsitude. And quite frankly, I'm going to fly over and mess with him for saying that.
No, we're going to have you on, Teaspoon. I want to talk about the PBD tournament because, boy, has that been a wild ride. But
well, just for us, too. Other games seem to be pretty normal, although R-Wise's game is ridiculous. Have you peeped at that one?
Our game. Wait, which one?
R-Wise has 7 points, and the next amount of points is 2.
Oh, my God, bro.
Yeah. Maybe 3,
what?
But regardless. Yeah.
Okay, I need to take a look at that one. Yeah, or it's gonna be over by the time I take a look at it.
Yeah, just take a guess what faction he's playing. Just take a guess.
I mean, he's Winnu, Obby.
No, he's Sar.
He's Sar? No, of course. Yeah,
you would know. I literally was like, this is I'm putting on the tee and you're hitting it out of the park.
Yeah.
But today on the ep.
Yeah, what do we got?
Man, we're going to talk a little of this Halloween nonsense. Obviously, PhilRoi, we're going to hype up his charity brawl a bit. We're going to talk about what's going on in the community game. And boy, is that a change one about the end of the last one and kind of, what's going on now. We'll save that for that part of the show. We're going to talk about those sweet Franken factions we have and a little bit of TIGL news. And if you're watching the YouTube version, we'll have everyone's favorite part of the show, Brassbird's Megameme Center.
Of course.
Did I miss anything? Maybe you should talk about the whole point of the show.
The whole point of the show, the main segment. So this is, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to be calling it necessarily, but it's just a faction-focused kind of thing. where regularly we have longer, in-depth interviews with like 1 or 2 people. We're doing this other series where we pull in a larger number of people and have shorter conversations with them that are focused on their favorite faction. What do they like about them? Hot tips, strategy, hot takes, like that, that kind of stuff. So I believe we're showing 3 of them. We're going to do Muaat. We got Rasmus to talk about Muaat. We got Flight of Fancy to talk about the Argent flight. And then I pulled in Caluin and Elspeth to talk about Yssaril. So it's a lot of content, great interviews. And, obviously we're going to be trying to do way more of these with way more people. I mean, I wouldn't even mind if we did like multiple takes on the same faction with a different person, you know what I mean? So if this is something that you're really interested in, if you have a favorite faction that you would want to talk about, please hit us up, because we're trying to gather just like a list of people that have their specialties.
Yeah, and my favorite part about doing these interviews is really like everyone's getting to know who we're interviewing and get to know them and what they're about, and just more about them as a person too. And that's like, the people is the focus on this show. And and what was great about all the interviews, at least the ones I did, Brass, was like, maybe they weren't all about tactics. They're all about like the flavor and why they enjoy the flavor of that faction.
Sure,
which is really cool to me.
Yeah, I mean,
this is basically hidden market research for Fantasy Flight. So you're welcome.
Interesting. You're welcome, Fantasy Flight. We're doing a service for you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, that's tight. I think it's a great series. I think I don't know. I've just been calling it like faction stands or
faction standum, kind of like our little beach episode arc.
Yeah, totally. Like maybe that's just the funny way to say it, and we might just go with that. Yeah. But let's just go ahead and keep rolling on. We have to give a shout out. We said his name earlier. We have to give a shout out to PhilRoi, my boy. I can't remember if we had talked about this when we had him on the show or whatever. Like, I think he did mention.
We did.
Yeah. He did mention that every year he likes to do the holiday charity brawl, a special event that is kind of different from year to year. The general idea is that he pulls in members from the larger TI community from all over the place, and then he just thinks of these wacky different kinds of games to do, and then of course it's like all for charity. So he pulls in like this game or this whatever, like all the donations are going to be going to these people and blah blah blah. And
I believe this year it's for Doctors Without Borders.
Yes, that's it.
It's consistently been that, and maybe some local charities for himself. Sorry I interrupted you there.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I'm just trying to remember everything that he told us. So generally, here's the thing. We're going into November, and I believe what Phil wants to do is that all month long there are going to be different events of different like varieties and different fundraising things going on. But then this main event that he's cooking up is going to be taking place from November 11th to November 13th. Look up his Twitch. Keep an eye on the TI4 online Discord server. He's going to be putting the events up and everything. Do you know the gist of what he's got going on with this big event?
Yeah. So the general kind of concept behind it is he made a very large map using every tile in the game with 24 of the 25 factions. The 25th faction, which is the Cleris, obviously, are based in Mechatol, and he's trying to make it somewhat lore accurate. And typically the idea is the game that you're playing is built on the ashes of the game from before. And like anything with PhilRoi, his ideas are big and grand, and I'm very excited. I saw the map already. He was working on it, and he was streaming for me to watch. And it's really interesting and some dynamics. Like I think Argent and Cabal can attack each other's home systems first action. Those are only 2 spaces away. But there's still there's more to it than that. But conceptually, it's like whoever plays the very first game is on that map, and then whoever plays the second game will be on a map based on like if a faction was eliminated, their home system becomes something special. I don't want to spoil too much, but like the ashes and like some bad stuff can happen and everything like that. It's really interesting. And like, with Phil, he's worked on homebrew stuff before, so the stuff he has kicked up is really cool.
Pretty tight,
quite frankly.
I mean, like the word to use is legacy. He's creating this whole legacy game element out of it, and I think it's dope. It makes me think of like something you say all the time, where it's like TI is not a legacy game, but it sure feels like it, man.
Yes, and one other quick thing: if you want to sign up for your country's team, go on to the TI Discord server and
TI4
check it out. You can sign ups are on there. And I guess we kind of have like we have our own little event we're trying to cook up with the Franklin. We're getting some scheduling bugs out. Hopefully we can do that. But then Brass and I are actually in a TIGL stream. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was going to talk about that with the bulletin.
Brawl. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I was going to bring that up. Well,
then never mind. Give you a little dangling carrot.
Exactly. Yeah. Stay tuned for the TIGL bulletin to come later in this episode. Yes, indeed.
By the way, Jared, if you're listening, you tell us to do something once, we're going to overdo it.
Oh, yeah. No, totally. Yeah, shout out to Jared of Arabica for the very helpful feedback to, like, can you guys give a summary of the episode? Like, so I don't have to, like, click through a whole 2-hour, like, video or something like that. No, very solid. Jared, great guy. I lost a game to him recently, and now he's a vet, too. One of my favorite memes I made recently was for Jared, actually, because like we're talking in the dojo and I'm saying like, it's just after the game and he got his promotion to vet 2 off of the game, and I was like, oh man, what a great time with y'all, like blah 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 blah, would love to like play another game with all of you fools. And then Jared says something where he's like, oh no, like it might be a while before we play another game together because it's only vet promo games for me for like from now on.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, this stuffy motherfucker. And so what I did is I made the meme with the Twilight vampires where they're like all fancy looking, and then like the lead one is Jared of Arabica, and then the other 2 fancy vampires behind them each say Vet 2 on them. Like, just imagining like the Vet 2s up in their ivory tower, like, yes, you regular veteran ones, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Now, actually, while we're talking about it, hold on. I have to brag and I have to show off something. I got a very special present from Bradley Sigma. Who is on the server. Check this out.
Oh, that is sick.
Isn't this dope? I don't know if this is like backwards on the video or something. Maybe
it is
I can
straight.
Do something about that. It's good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Like, isn't this so dope?
Oh my gosh.
So
he just
awesome. If you become a veteran, like, he just reached out to me and he was like, can I send you one of these? And I was like, dude, you are the coolest, bro. You are absolutely the
awesome.
coolest.
Is that like the same size as the typical ejector ones, or is that bigger?
Oh no, it's huge. It's
it's
enormous.
Thought,
like,
but,
my hand for scale, bro. Look at this.
By the way, Brass has gigantic hands.
No, my beer for scale. How about that?
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's something more normal sized.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, thank you again. If you're watching Bradley Sigma, you are absolutely a sweetie. Thank you. I just got it like not an hour or 2 ago. Yo. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anything else that we got for the intro, Frox, or can we just like go straight into it?
Nah, man. Nah, I'm not even going to talk about my ongoing games after what happened today. So we can just keep vibing.
And I won't press you about it because I'm a nice guy. I won't embarrass you this time. So yeah, we can just go straight into it. Let's go ahead and go into the Galactic Crisis Pact. This is our segment where we like to talk about community game. Community plays TI, originally the brainchild of our good dear friend. My son is also named Bort. It has grown into quite the community and quite the silly, amazing, fun, lovely place. And What's going on with the situation right now, Frox? Can you explain it to me?
Well, we do need to backtrack and let people know how the game ended, the prior game, and I actually had my own hand in it.
Yes, Game 5 is done.
Mm-hmm.
It is now.
Game 5 is
done.
And,
yes,
and it was it went out with a whimper. I got tagged, and they were like, "All right, we got our support back. We're gonna win make someone."
Barony
Barony
got their support back. Yeah.
And they tagged me. It's like, that's fine. We'll agree to this. Only if Frox rolls the dice. By the way, I roll horribly. Yssaril were pretty much going to win no matter what, and they were the eventual winners. But I told them I'm setting my turn. I'm rolling a D69, 1 through 34. Hakan gets the support and wins. 35 through 68. Excuse me. Yssaril gets support and they win. So my first roll was Yssaril, like a Yssaril roll. The second roll was a Yssaril roll, and the con people all start bitching. And then finally, my third roll was a 69.
Yes.
And if you got a 69, we delete the game. So the game just ended.
Yeah.
Nothing else happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So but Yssaril was gonna win anyways. First action next round, essentially, is how it happened. And then well, we got a break, and we thought we were going to be doing one thing, and then Wecker dropped something on us. And Brass, you can tell a little bit about it if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Or do you think I'm more equipped? It's up to you.
Well, yeah. So I mean, it was kind of like a lot that happened because like there was like you said, the game ended with a whimper, and there was just kind of a confusing like fog that happened for like a few days where even I was confused, like, is the game actually over? Like, I don't even know who won, like it was just like a really confusing thing. And there wasn't a lot of guidance of like, oh, this is what's going to happen next. So, people just start milling around. And then in the meme channel, there was a game of Connect 4 that happened. Like, it was
Anarchy Connect 4.
It was Anarchy Connect 4. Yeah, essentially.
That's what it is, yeah.
So like someone had posted, and I can't remember the handle right now.
I got it right here. He's in our team.
Oh, yeah. No, they're really funny. They just posted a picture of a Connect 4 board and said like
HMK Rhythm.
That's it. HMK Rhythm. So they posted the picture of the Connect 4 board, and then they said like it's Red's turn. And then people just start like bullshitting. But then so which is to be expected. But then they like took that bullshit and then actually like manipulated the image so that pretty much whatever they say, they just like put that in there, So like it got out of hand real fast. Like then there was like butter all over the place, and then there's like a dragon. Like there's
was there?
There was a dragon, yeah, and I think that was Mantis. He made a wormhole token, but then it was like WYRM, like wormhole. Right. He made a wormhole token, and I think that might have been like the genesis point, because the image that he used was like the House Targaryen, like House of Dragons, like he used that image. And I feel like that got Wecker, like got Wecker's wheels turning.
For what we're doing now.
Yeah, for what we're doing now. And then this came like absolutely out of nowhere. Wecker was like, we're going to play a game of shoots and ladders, but it's not just shoots and ladders, and it's actually like a fantasy RPG, like kind of themed around Game of Thrones almost. Like there's the House of Shoots and the House of Ladders, and
no, they're not like the House of Ladders. Like it's like, hold on,
they're like a whole thing. There's like there's a
lore.
There's lore for this whole thing. There's like really deep lore. There's like the whole thing's like this writing exercise. Like, wow,
it's very fun. It's definitely not for everyone. I don't want to tell you and hype this up, but like if you love role-playing games and you love creative writing, this has been an absolute treat.
Oh, it's such a joy
to play,
honestly. And here's the thing is that it's like a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? Like I kept saying like I need a palate cleanser game from the game that was supposed to be the palate cleanser game. Like Game 5 was supposed to be like that. But no, this is the breath of fresh air that we all needed, and it's just fun and silly and like, I don't know, way more low pressure because we're just playing shoots and ladders, man.
Man. Well, this is serious business. Come on, man. We're in the court of shoots. We're the uppity nobility. Well, some of us are. Yeah. The uppity nobles. We start out at the top. Everyone else starts down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Man, and like at one point, like not a lot's happened. This game's only been going on over the weekend, by the way, listeners. But Phil has this like steampunk robotic armadillo that he found, and it has like some special abilities, and we got to name it. Yeah. But there was a whole lore on the species of the steampunk armadillos. Yeah. Anyways, it's awesome.
There's a lot of depth to it, and it's just like I said, it's just fun. It's just new and just like something different, and I think it will give Wecker plenty of time to finish up what he's trying to finish up with the development of the frog bot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And next game should be a Fog of War game. Frog of War
Trademark.
Game soon. Yeah. But no, the Chutes and Ladders thing, great fun. Absolutely love it. And
if you don't know about like why Chutes and Ladders is the game we're playing, it's because a common joke is that like after playing a game of TI, now we can play a serious game like Chutes and Ladders, a really complicated one. So I think that's why we ended up choosing Chutes and Ladders for this. And then Wecker made an actual complicated version of Chutes and Ladders, of course. So the joke just keeps going deeper and deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that has been your community game update. I think... Is it time for unconventional measures?
I would think so, and this will be kind of a fun one. I'm really excited. The hype is building in me to kind of hang out with you for like however long this darn game takes to commentate and get our chops going on that. But so what do we need to talk about with it? Do you want to talk about maybe the factions?
Yeah, I mean, I just
in process of being built.
Yeah, so I'm I'm just like in the same boat as you as far as like I want to start building the hype for the game. It has not been specifically scheduled yet, but we're looking at some kind of weekend coming up, like either a Saturday.
It has to be a Saturday.
Has to be a Saturday. Okay, so
because we have someone in Japan and someone in Australia with a bunch of American people. So
totally, yeah. So you gotta split the difference on those time zones. So it's going to be on a Saturday, and we just want to talk about how the draft has gone, what the factions are looking like. If you haven't heard us talk about this yet, this is something that's being organized on our server, what we call the Beautiful People Club. And it's also a roto draft, a rotisserie style draft in which every component in the game is up for grabs. So that often leads to a situation where, like, okay, you got your top abilities right. You got like pillage, you got analytical, you got like you're brilliant, or like, all these ones or whatever. So people just choose.
And mitosis as well.
Oh yeah, of course, mitosis.
Mitosis, yeah. Thank you.
So it's like people choose like, okay, the most strong one there. Like someone chose like technological singularity, so they're copying the text or whatever. And from those like very strong base pieces, then they start to fill out the rest of their faction. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of like counter drafting that's going on where people can tell like, oh, you're trying to build this thing, where it's like you're trying to do this. I'm going to take this piece away from you because I can tell that you're trying to put this all together, So yeah, it's been really interesting to see how they all have turned out. Some of the archetypes are kind of similar to the first time when we were putting those together, but I think that's to be expected with the roto style,
Well, yeah, I mean, the moment you grab grab a singular component, you almost want to all in and go around. Like if you get Zayu, you want to build around having Zayu. You know what I mean?
Totally.
That's just got to be your thought, right?
Totally, yeah.
Or Saru, which is basically Zayu to more Zayu.
Exactly. Yeah, so I asked all the players to give us just like a little, kind of like in their own words, a short description of what they have going on. Wrote down some of the components that they're basing their whole situation on. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about who's in the game and what they have drafted.
Yeah, I'll go first. Elspeth is playing. For those of you who don't know her, she's streamed a lot of TI games on the SCPT channel. And her self-description of her faction is vroom vroom whoosh, fast spaceships go wee, but like with the sweet turtle economy and using Zayu or Junior a bunch. So it sounds like she has clever Saru, huh?
Yeah, so she's got Saru. and she's got all sorts of fast stuff. I didn't really write down like what.
She has Saturn engines, I believe.
Oh, Saturn engines. There we go. Saturn engines. We got obviously the Omega Extra Hero, which is hot stuff. Especially in Franken when you can score quickly and you're kind of OP in the first place. Then it's like, I don't know, what is it? More or less a guarantee that you're going to have that status phase round 2 unlocked. So that's pretty good. I have no idea what their slices look like, but I'm sure Elspeth planned around that and has like a dope, like Braglier 4 or something going on.
The only person who hasn't reliably grabbed anything for their slice, I believe our boy Jadeem Jedi has not. Do you want to go ahead and read his faction though? If you got a second, sir?
Well, is anyone surprised at what JJ did? Absolutely not. JJ's got brilliant. He's got analytical. He's also got the 0 token. He's got the Winu hero. Essentially, I keep joking that JJ copied me because I ended up because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a buff Jolnar, and that's pretty much what he's got going on. He's saying it's a souped up Jolnar. Lots of tech, no nonsense, and here's the other thing is that I feel like is similar to how I was building it earlier was like the self-sufficiency, like he's talking about like, I don't ever need to take politics, obviously he never needs to take tech, all this kind of stuff. I think he's got a solid all-around situation. Obviously, probably built it better than my stuff. I mean, I took the like
with your mini War Sun mechs on Mechatol. I don't know, man.
No, I'm talking about how I took like the Kellerus agent and then I didn't use it once. Like I just didn't even need it, with the way it was going on. So JJ, not surprised that we got a souped up Jolnar situation, but it'll be really interesting to see what he does with that.
The guy, much like myself, commits to the bit. Like, what? I commit to rolling very poorly.
Yeah.
All the time.
I respect that.
Commits to technology. Yeah. If I roll well, it's a fluke. It doesn't actually happen.
Totally.
So, but next up we have Caluin. His faction is, man, I really like this description. Hey, how many times can I activate without having to spend a token? Zayu, TCS, Biostims. Hey, I have that plus Latani.
Yeah.
You don't have enough money to produce stuff. It's just amazing.
Yeah. So I think that either means that he's taken. Wait, does that mean he's taken Mahawk starting tech? Is that what that means? Yeah, like because he's talking about starting with Biostims. So. Yeah, I mean, so that's just going to be silly, right? You know what I mean? And that's like, because it's not just the Zayus, but it's also like 3 free tokens around,
I mean, and TCS is right there because you have predictive as well. And like, you don't even really need like predictive. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, wait, 4? Like, wait, how many Zayus are we talking here?
You can get up to the triple Zayus the max. Triple Zayus the max unless you buy someone else's.
Wait, okay, I see. Which you can because Srew's on the table, obviously. Okay, great. All right, next one. I think this is the most entertaining one, obviously, and somebody needed to step up and be the people's champion and give people the entertainment value that they wanted. Mantis is coming in with spin it to win it, baby, is what we're saying for Mantis. He's got chaos mapping. He's got yin spinner. He's got Latani warriors. Do you know if it's warriors or behemoths? Do you know?
Warriors.
Like, Latani warriors. Yeah. No, totally. So Mantis is memeing hard. He doesn't necessarily want to win, but he wants to have the most amount of infantry that is humanly possible.
I think 69 is a nice number to aim for, and I think it's achievable.
If he gets 69 infantry, I'm just going to crown him right then. Even if he's like still on 0 points, it's like, you did it.
Yeah.
You win this game.
No, I'm moving the trophy into his area and borking the save. Absolutely. Not even a question. And I commit to the bit. You know that about me.
Spin it to win it, baby. I cannot wait to see how that turns out. That's just going to be ridiculous.
It's disgusting. Thankfully, I don't know how quick you can get the engine online if you think about it, because he needs 2 blue for chaos mapping. Well, like a second blue, I mean, is chaos mapping, and then the yin spinner is 2 greens.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you know, it's Mantis. He has a plan. He's better at this than us. Let's be honest.
He'll figure it out.
And our boy Old Wolf, by the way, fantastic gentleman, visiting statesides right now from the country of Australia.
Love Old Wolf.
His description is get money, start fights, hide in supernovas, go on a parade, floating factories, reclaimers, Magnus Reactor, and agency supply network.
Yeah.
I just realized that ASN works with supernovas if you have Magnus Reactor.
That's dope. Are you kidding me? Whoa. Yeah. I didn't know, dude. I didn't even think about that. That's awesome.
That's actually sick.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just thought about that too. I was like, yeah, because they game production, which your units with production. Oh my god.
And he's gonna have all the floating factories out because the reclaimers.
Yep.
Wow, this is gonna be nasty. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so like
straight nasty.
You know, well, this is laid up. He sent me like he made a spreadsheet with his pick priorities and like color coded it for like before he began drafting, and like it was. I mean, he went for his concept early, and he got a lot of what he wanted.
Wow.
Because he didn't want like normal great stuff, but putting all this together is actually
totally.
Yeah.
I haven't checked out every single component of every single thing necessarily, but maybe Old Wolf won the draft.
No, the next one I think did. To be honest with you, like if we're gonna go with like actual power ceiling, I think it's the next one.
Oh sure. No, this one's great. We got our boy Prepara player, the player from Japan. The most hilarious description going on here. My faction eats things and rifts things. I'm a guzzlord on roller skates. Unless I roll bad, and then I don't have a faction. Better metaphor. I'm treating this game as a Kirby speedrun.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So the reason it's a Kirby speedrun is because he has Mahacht. Is it Edict or is it Imperia? Whichever one it is that you can grab
the
commanders.
Okay.
And he also has technological singularity.
Yes.
So he is like Kirby, absorbing the powers of enemies and using them against them.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has Cabal Vortex.
Amalgamation.
And and Amalgamation. It's
Yeah.
It's
pretty nasty.
It's actually just disgusting.
It's actually disgusting.
And he's not afraid of rifting into people's slices, as Brass can see from firsthand measures.
No, that boy loves to rift.
No, I mean, there's a whole gambit named after him.
Yeah,
deservedly so. Yes. Love the guy too.
For real.
I'm very excited for this. And if you don't think that sounds like fun to watch, like silly TI, I don't know if you're too into this hobby like we are. Thank you for having a life.
Sure.
Anyways, anything else to cover here? We don't, like we said, we don't have a date for it. We're going to be streaming it for sure. We just got to get a date nailed down, and you all will be the first to know. And hopefully we can kind of make this our charity brawl hold in, but hopefully the timing works out for that.
All right. Well, I'm not really sure what else. Oh wait, hold on. Beep 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 beep.
Sorry, I thought someone was at the door.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing something. I'm getting something on the earpiece. I'm getting a little something. It's the TIGL Bulletin, Twilight Imperium,
hot off the presses,
globally. Hot off the press.
From our boy Big Al Cappuccino, or however I'm supposed to say it. He sent this to us, and it says, as the season approaches at the end, the fervor has dissipated with a noted reduction in sanctioned matches. This is fair, given competitive play is taxing, and fatigue is not to be underestimated. Bob C holds the top spot currently, but we still have 2 more weeks, including our Hunter Plays final game being streamed on SCPT. Then some much-needed rest and recuperation for Season 2 kicks off the 1st of December of this year, 2022. We hope that TIGL will continue to build, as it does require a critical mass to maintain itself, but time will tell if we have attained such. TIGL, for the players, by the players.
Love it.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, that man has a way with words.
Absolutely.
Actually ridiculous.
It's a gift. Yeah, it's a gift.
So he made me sound kind of like competent.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and show this on the screen right now, a little image that we got from Big Al advertising the game that both Frox and I were invited to join in on. Big Al's going to be commentating, streaming. This is Hunter's second TIGL game. And it's going to be fun. I mean, okay, so there was a change in the schedule, and I believe that made it so that Burner, who is listed here, is not going to be playing, but I believe we're going to be getting K Ruthless to step in.
Our boy Kyle.
If we can,
no matter what, even K Ruthless may be his tag name, but everyone just calls him Kyle, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, whether it's Burner or whether it's K Ruthless, I mean, look at this table, man. Like, what a table of heavy hitters. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I mean, 3-digit ELO, I think, is really carrying the weight there, to be honest with you, as in it's bringing the average down.
I'm glad that you brought up your ELO because I wasn't going to do it this time.
I'll do it. It's fine. I actually thought I was going to get the W today, and that's what I'm a little sad about, to be honest, to reference back to earlier, but that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm incredibly excited. I mean, that is a table full of very bright TI minds. I mean, you obviously are a very strong player, but I mean, Cody TCT was a finalist, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I've lost a game to literally everyone at that table except for Hunter and Cody. And I just haven't played with them. So here's a great opportunity for me. Sunday, November 6th at 10 a.m. Eastern. Is that 1500 UTC?
I believe so. Yeah. Going to be an early one for me, I tell you what. But,
Well, what's great is we get the time change that night beforehand. So we get a little extra time, that falling back an hour. And
okay, that's tight.
Get a little extra sleep to be well rested, my man.
Super tight. It's going to be fine then. It's going to be just fine.
And I do want to say one thing. Al was like, I hope you and Brass are next to one another in this game.
No.
No. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, man. The Salt Factory can only handle so much, but if it happens, it happens, and I just hope I'm someone with dreads. What?
Hilarious. All right. What are we moving on to, Frox? What's next?
Oh man, I'm feeling something, and I'm loving it so much, and I can't wait. This is my favorite part of the show because you do all the work. It's Brassbird's Megameme Center.
Yeah.
Hit me with that nice stuff.
Oh yeah, you better believe it. It's a pretty strong week this week. We got a little bit of Halloween vibes because it is indeed Halloween today, is what it is. We're just gonna jump right into it. Meme number 1.
Oh my god!
So this one, this one's great. We were just talking about him. This is from our boy K Ruthless, our boy Kyle. This trade offer one is, I just liked it so much because I empathize with it so much.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this comes, it comes from a place of that empathy where it's like, if you're a competitive person, then you'll understand this. You know what I mean?
My favorite part about the meme is, quite frankly, this one's so good it transcends like TI.
Oh yeah.
Like I showed this to my quote unquote normie coworker, and she was dying laughing.
Oh my God.
I love this one
totally
so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like I've been there. I'm sure a lot of people have been there where you're just having this game night, and then you just get a little too into it, and then you have a moment of clarity, and then you realize, oh God, I'm a monster.
What have I become?
What have I become?
Oh
God,
man,
bro.
A little more brass than bird on this guy.
Yeah,
this
no
night.
shit, bro. No shit. Wow. All right. Yeah. Love that one, Kyle. Love you. Oh yeah. And Kyle got married recently, didn't he?
No, engaged.
Wait, no, engaged or married?
Yeah, he got engaged.
Wait, no, engaged. Yeah. Okay. Well, congratulations either way. Kate Ruthless.
Yeah.
Love you.
Seriously, congrats, man.
You. Congrats. All right. Meme number 2. This one's Old Man GI, right? Yes, Old Man GI. So we were riffing on some stuff because this is all about the chutes and ladders, obviously. And I was saying there is a meme in here somewhere where but I don't know what the template is.
This guy thought of it immediately.
Yeah, no, he had this.
He was like, I'll be right back.
No, he had this on lock big time.
Yeah.
Because like the vibe and what I was trying to go for was just like the masses are clamoring for the Frog of War game. Like, give us Frog of War. We want it. We want it. And then Wecker just comes out of nowhere. It's something completely different, and
yeah,
and it's been a smash hit. What can I say? It's been a hit.
Think so.
Yeah. No, for real. Yeah. No, love this one. Old Man GI, you're great. This one cracks me up. Oh man. All right, moving right along. We got meme number 3. So this one from the obligatory memes channel on the async one, the async server. I always try and get one of these in here because it's it's just like more like these memes are more like stories that are based on the games, and that's what I enjoy about these, is that you have just like real ass stuff that happened in one of these games. That is pretty funny. And who did this one? It was Somno.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
And
designed all the artwork for the async server, by the way.
Yeah.
Did a lot of the digital artwork and uploading.
Totally. Somno, who I imagine is the Empyrean in this case. Did the nastiest possible thing.
Yeah.
And so this is it's covert legislation, right?
Yeah.
So
yes,
the hidden agenda is public execution, and he plays it off as if it is something that is good, and you should pay me for the privilege of being elected for this. But,
oh my God.
But I think it was also a situation where NRA wanted it because they scored Drive the Debate off of that.
Oh man.
And that's an entirely different meme. I mean, like a related meme, but also a different meme where it's like you score that secret objective off of the public execution. Like that is, that's hilarious.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah, no, this is a great story, and I can imagine how hilarious it would have been to be in the Table Talk channel of that one at that moment. Oh man. All right, next one is meme number 4. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, no, who did this one?
Magi.
Magi. Wait, no.
Magi.
No, Magi's is meme number 5.
Oh shit, I got it backwards. Parabox.
Parabox, that's it. That's it.
Parabox. I'm sorry.
I blanked on it, and I was like, it's a person I know because I played in a game with the Parabox. I know, but this is just a straightforward story. Another one from the async server. You can see it. The political censure, the one that stops you from playing action cards. Elect the political secret in Yssaril. Destroy it. Stop them from playing their action cards. And the Tsar who wants the point. No. I like this. I like this one a lot because it is like a classic meme template that has been like perfectly executed in this new format, and it's this one cracks me up. Absolutely love this one.
No, I can just imagining it like playing out, like everyone, like Star probably doesn't say a word the entire time.
No,
totally. Comes around to him, he's speaker, and then he's like, "I'm voting on me." Everyone's just like, "What the?"
No, you were the chosen one.
Yeah, like everyone probably abstains. Like the first person puts like one vote on, everyone abstains, and then we've all been there.
We all been there for real. Wow. All right, so we were saying his name before. We're going to move on to his meme. This one's a special one because it's a GIF.
So good. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so high quality. Oh my God,
it's so high quality. I mean, like you can even read, even though it's fast, it's like you can read the names off of the commanders as they like go in there.
Oh my God. Oh, what movie is this from? I've seen it. It's just
I've never seen this movie.
It's actually bothering me.
I don't know what
Oh
this
man,
is.
Christian Bale, like, you know how he gets super into roles? He's super into this one, and he's like this creepy, like, robot dude, essentially.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
like an android or something. I can't remember it.
Wow.
But my favorite part about this one is, like, I know Magi is, like, quite possibly the greatest TI player ever, and then he just drops this fucking on me. I'm like, oh my god.
No, he's a great memer. No, and
Yeah.
he and it's funny how he just kind of like is like out of the community for most of the time, but then he just drops in. Like he never left. You know, like and he just drops something like this, or he just like or a really well thought out post about this, that, or the other thing. Like
oh, that's great. He's like Gandalf, you know, he's never early, he's never late. He rides exactly when you need him to.
Precisely. All right, that is a banger, I gotta tell you. But it ain't over yet. We got a bonus meme coming straight your way. The bonus.
I love when I get an extras. It's like a little guac point of the episode.
Happy Halloween. We so this is a special one from God, I'm blanking on who was it? I don't have the name.
Tom HD.
Tom HD, that's it. Tom HD. A little special, I think the caption he said is a little Irish language meme for us here. Sam Hain tools. And there's a lot of little details in this. I think my favorite one is like the skull on the extra one. Like that one's like really well edited in there. And
man, yeah, that's
really
sick.
Fucking cool, actually. Yeah, and
this is very well done.
Yeah, it's cute. It's you know, it's seasonal. It's just really funny.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Like, I really like it.
Absolutely.
That's
love
awesome.
It. Yeah. So, here at Community Formation, we hope that you are having a good Halloween weekend and take this this whimsical joy with you into the future, is what I say. Yeah.
No.
So
happy Halloween, everyone. Seriously.
Yeah, happy Halloween. That has been a Brassbird's Megameme Center, a most festive one this time, I tell you what. Wow. Yeah. So what do we got next, Frox? What's
I think we're just kind of, we get our swim trunks and our beach towel, and we head out to listen to some good friends talk about some wonderful factions they know and love. And I hope you really enjoy us. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you'd like to hear.
Yeah.
And it's been a great one.
Yeah. All right. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, all right, everybody. This is Frox here with Rasmus. We have elected to get Rasmus to talk about Muaat, as I'm sure most of you have read his excellent Muaat guide. But Rasmus, how you doing today, my man?
I am very well. Thank you for asking.
Glad to hear that. So before we really dive into the Muaat stuff, if you want to tell us a little about yourself, maybe about whereabouts you are. Clearly by the accent, I can tell you're here in the States because, we're grabbing people from all over. But want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a recovering attorney, and I live just outside New York City, and sort of came up through the New York City Twilight Imperium circles. And so I'm super obsessive about things, as people could probably tell from the guide. And I just really like games like Twilight Imperium, although my recent conquests have been Kingdom Death Monster. I've been really into that recently.
Never heard about that. I'll definitely look that up as soon as we're done talking. Like, is it like, how many player game is it though?
It is, it's up to 4 players, but it typically is best as a 2-player game, and you play cooperatively against the board game itself.
Oh, that's kind of my jam with my friends, to be honest. Like, when we play TI, things get a little too dragged out. We're way too competitive. So, like, the co-op stuff, I like to, relax into, so.
Right.
Definitely feel that. Well, I guess my second question for you is kind of, what kind of brought you to the SCPT / Twilight Imperium community? I know before we got recording, you told me a little bit about you'd have 40 people together in New York. You want to tell me a little bit about that, and then maybe how you got to the SCPT stuff, and kind of go from there?
Sure, yeah. So the New York City Twilight Imperium community before COVID was really intense. We had 2 competing sort of groups, and the one group that I was in had 30 to 40 people every week, doing tournament style play. So we had, 6 boards going at a time and all that good stuff. And so it was for a 2-year period or whatever, like a weekly thing, and how many communities can you say that like every week you get to play a 6-hour plus board game?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, and that's sort of where the whole Muaat thing came out from. And then with the Space Cats thing, of course, if you're in that type of community, you start being like, okay, well, I need to like one up everyone. Like I need some additional information. And Twilight Imperium is not a game that you can just like read and then just like get all of the insight that you need to make the decisions. So in my commute back and forth, I'd listen to Space Cats to try and get like some understanding of what all these factions do and everything. Yeah. So
no, that's yeah, I mean that's kind of what brought me there too, because I played like my first game as L1, got completely ranched. I mean, it wasn't enjoyable for me, it wasn't enjoyable for my neighbor because I was just space risking it. And then so I get that, man. I really do. So about Muaat, what attracted you to them? Because I mean, I've read base game stuff from you before the POK, so you definitely were with them when they were even more, pardon my insult to them, but jank and not as competitive.
No, that's wrong. That is a wrong way to look at it.
That's fair. I've earned that.
So, all right. So here's how. Again, that my obsessive side's really going to start showing.
Sounds great to me.
So the way the draft style worked in the New York tournament scene was basically, I forget exactly what it was, but there was a 90% or better chance that basically if you picked 2 or 3 factions, that faction would be in the draft.
Okay.
All right. So now you have a faction. Back up a second. My thought was, I don't like playing overpowered factions. So I didn't want to specialize in anything like that. And I thought the best way in this game to try and get good at it, because I wasn't very good originally. I mean, I guess it's a matter of public opinion whether I'm good now, but I think I've developed some skill set at it. Was that instead of just trying to do all of the factions and get pretty good at each one, I was just going to focus on like one faction. And so I didn't want to pick like a really good faction because I thought that would be sort of lame. That like, oh, it's especially in base game, like you win with soul. Is it really a win? I don't know. So I always like bringing like the underdog and making them more powerful and being skilled at it, because then your win actually feels like a win.
Yeah.
So that left me with like a couple of factions, and it was like no one's going to pick Muaat. Everyone, like, especially competitively, Muaat was completely out of the running. So I was like, all right, first, underpowered. Second, no one's going to pick it if it comes up in a draft. So if it's in the draft, I know that I'll be able to play it. And that happened a lot because no one would pick it. And then from there, you know, of the couple factions I was looking at or whatever, you know, War Sons. Like I mean, think about it though. Like we play this game, and like the most iconic piece. I know this has been said before, but like the most iconic piece is the War Sun. But like it never comes to the table. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, like the cool thing about this faction is that like they start with a War Sun, and like you don't have to necessarily build one in order to play with it, because it starts with one. Yeah. So, and over the iterations of all the different methods of trying to figure out Muaat, it's like, do you build another War Sun? Do you not? But at least you always started with one, so there was one at least at the table, and I always thought that was pretty cool. So that's
that power projection just feels so nice. I get that. I really do.
That was the beginning of it.
When you first started playing, people were less experienced. Was everyone kind of like deathly afraid of you and didn't mess with you at all? Like when you were playing Muaat?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird relationship that you have with the board state, right? Because a lot of the factions will interact with it in like a game with Hakan, right, is way different than a game without Hakan. A game with Yssaril, especially in POK, is way different than a game without Yssaril. And when you're playing Muaat, like, you, for the most part, don't have to put up with a lot of nonsense. Keep the New Jersey accent and everything out of it. A lot of nonsense from other players, because at the end of the day, you have the War Sun, and people in negotiations and things like that, all you have to do is sort of remind them that you have the War Sun and they have the carrier, and and we can talk about the math about whether that's an actual conversation that's worth having. Yeah, because it's usually not. But the thought is that you can't push around the Muaat player too much. So.
No, for sure. I mean, and now in POK, I mean, there's always that Nova Seed just sitting, hovering over the game itself, right? That's kind of, I mean, it's it's a hammer best left kept in the tool bag, in my opinion. Like, once it's used there, you kind of gotten rid of some of your leverage on the board, but that's time for another thing. That's just how I felt in my game. One great game I've had with Muaat.
I have a lot of thoughts on the Nova Seed.
Okay. Okay. Well, give me your favorite Nova Seed story for, like, when you've used it, or at least one that comes to mind very quickly.
Well, I'm actually not going to use one of mine. I'm going to use the whatchamacallit. Was it 2 years ago, I guess? That Muaat was in the finals and they misplaced the Nova Seed. I think that is like the perfect case study for a Nova Seed, both being brilliant, how brilliant it can be, and it going terribly wrong.
Because they had it on, like, the south side of Rex.
One space difference, which they could have reached, would have made the difference with it. So,
because they were going to win.
Absolutely, it was unstoppable if they had changed the whatchamacallit, the position of it. Yeah. So it is what it is, and not to take too much credit, okay, because I obviously wasn't at the game. But I was part of the prep for that game. So the player and I were talking, and similar sort of to what I was thinking about with the New York City Twilight Imperium group. No one's going to pick Muaat if it comes up, right? Muaat's never won a game, basically. Like, no one's going to pick it. So I not sure if I had finished the guide yet publicly, but there was definitely, like, a full draft of it in sort of my Twilight Imperium group. Hashtag Bagel Boys. Shout out to you guys. And so, we were definitely talking about it, and the first couple, the whole sort of opening play was placed or strategized out with maps and everything. We're really obsessive in that group. But yeah. So anyway, the Nova Seed question, that was definitely a really good, I think, both positive and negative for Nova Seed. Yeah, because it shows you, it can win the game for Muaat, but you have to be super careful about it. Yeah.
No, that was a great story. I mean, that's a really good way to highlight it too, because they can go find it and look at it and understand it. Like, if they want to jump into this faction, I know, like, my one good game I had with Muaat, I had one really bad game, like in POK. I mostly started playing in POK. I always felt powerful. I just, my bad game, I feel like the objectives were unfriendly, and that's where I feel like them as a faction kind of suffer a little bit. But I was less experienced in that game. And then in my good game, I lost because someone drew bunker. So,
really?
Bunker. Well, like, I mean, so the meme around me is that I don't roll well, and then when they had bunker on top of that, but we don't have to go too into it. But shout out to Ty playing Winu for having bunker. Screw you, buddy.
And I should say the player who played it was Humble Checkmate. So that's Humble's Muaat run. Still disagree with you, giving up all that value to Teddy, who ended up winning in the first round. Well, also, a key which we have to talk about in any Muaat discussion is the first round negotiations.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one quick thing. Humble's actually going to come on and talk about Mintac, so...
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah.
He was one of my first TI buddies, so I had to invite him on. But no, tell me, give me that. That's your hot tip. Tell me about these first round move out negotiations. I know it's in the guide, but hey, we can get it on video. So let's hit me with it.
Yeah. So your game, I think, will basically be decided in your first round negotiation. Especially if there's a Hakan player at the board. My 2021 prelims game was with, I think, Caluin was Hakan.
Shout out to Caluin.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really funny watching the chat afterwards, because while I'm making the deal, and not to toot my own horn too much, but I know what I'm doing when it comes to Muaat.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That's why you're here.
I don't think there's anyone on Earth that has played Muaat more than me at this point. So I know exactly what I need in the negotiation to make whatever it is that I want to try and do that game happen.
Yeah.
So I think I ended the negotiation getting some crazy amount of trade goods. I think it was like 13 trade goods or something like that.
Oh my God.
But when the trade's happening and we're talking about it, the chat is just going absolutely bonkers about how crazy I am to be, giving away fires and doing this and doing that. And then if you just timestamp that, now we're going to fast forward in the game like an hour and a half to the next round. And I have 2 War Suns, and I'm on Mechatol Rex, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And then if you look at the chat, then they're like, how did Muaat get so strong? How did this happen? and it's because of that trade that seemed so disadvantageous to Muaat.
Yeah.
It allows you to, build the second War Sun, and it allows you to do this, that, and the other thing. So the key is, I think with Muaat, because I normally don't advise selling fires, which is why it's actually why that conversation took so long, because I am so against selling it. But you have to sort of put everything on the table.
Yeah. And
be realistic with what you can accomplish and know what the cost is to you.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you necessarily have to worry about selling the store. That's fine, but you just have to get an appropriate price for it, and then it'll all work itself out. Now,
yeah.
On the flip side of that, selling fires is actually what cost me the game.
Well, Caluin just wins, man. Yeah. Caluin just wins. That's what Caluin does.
He didn't win either.
No, he didn't? Oh.
Humble won.
Well, okay.
Yeah, there was a stacked board.
Yeah, that was your prelims? You didn't oh my gosh, you picked the Bear's Nest. I know in my prelims this past year, Magi was in it, and then I was like, my nephew has a birthday party. I can't make this game. I'm just kidding. So that's actually what happened. But
well, I had Duke in mine this year. Yeah. And Duke won. He played a great game.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to bow out of it, because the funny thing with that one is, I know we're getting a little bit far afield.
Hey, let's have fun.
I had cast 1 or 2 games, and the way Space Cats was doing it, the casters were getting the time slots changed to their local time zone. Yeah. So I signed up for the time slot thinking that it would be an early start, but it was 8 o'clock in the morning. It's not too bad. I wake up early. That's fine. Whatever. And on the plus side, I'll be able to salvage the second part of the day so that I don't have to sleep on the couch thing. Then I am post in the group chat when they all put us in the groups. I'm like, hey guys, can't wait. It's a little bit early start, 8 a.m., but I should be okay. And Duke was actually like, hey man, that's Greenwich time. We're starting at 2 o'clock in the morning for you. I was like, oh no. So they were kind enough to push it back an hour, I think, for me, so that I could get some sleep.
Man, no, I love that story.
I love that. I was in that position where like I didn't want to back out of the game at that point, even though I'm sure everyone would have understood, because I didn't want anyone being like, "Oh, you found out that Duke was in the game, and like, that's why you're trying to back out of it."
No, for sure.
I was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be like the most insane game. I'm gonna get 2 hours of sleep or something, and then have to like wake up and play a full game of Twilight Imperium." So,
oh man.
So if you ever want to see me in the most loopy state ever,
no, I watched that game, buddy. I'm a DJ, and I watched a lot of the games this past year. That was a good one, though. My favorite story behind that chat was like Luke was Hollywooding that he can't win in like 3 different Discord servers, like posting hilarious comments like, "Oh, I'm not winning this," and then he ends up winning. I'm like, okay, literally couldn't stop.
I knew that he was winning, so I think there's 2 great moments from that game. First, we'll do this. Well, we'll do the second one first. The end of the game, only basically Duke has a path.
Yeah,
I knew they had a path, and you'll see me at one point talk to. There's a bunch of side conversations, whispers happening between me and the player adjacent to Duke, because I was able to convince Duke that he needed to vacate his home system to save the game, which he needed to do for him to win.
Yeah.
And as soon as he lays the tactical token and starts moving plastic, there is a bunch of texts from me to the blue player or whoever it is, the one clockwise from Duke's position. And I'm saying, my man, you have a 1 activation window. You have to take his home system. Yeah. Like, he's going to win the game. Yeah. So you have to take the home system. And I forget exactly what we had agreed to, but he agrees to do it. And I'm like, okay, like now I'm still in the running because it's going to go an extra turn. We're good. And then Duke manages to convince him to not take the home system, even though he's barony with like an infantry. In the home system.
Oh my god.
And at this point, now keep in mind, 2 hours of sleep, I'm like a pot and a half of coffee in. I've got like Red Bulls all over my desk. And now I'm freaking out because I'm like, I just did all this work, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so I message everyone. I'm just like, listen, like, if you can win this round before Duke's pull, you know, I forget if he was 2 or 3 or whatever he is. He was the one before it. If you can win on the scoring round, you should do whatever Duke is telling you to do. If you cannot, then Duke's going to win. And he was like, well, I don't think Duke can win. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, if I can't convince you of that, like, it's clear from someone who's spent, you know, an embarrassing amount of hours in this game that
I get it.
Win this round.
Know that feeling. Oh man.
And so Duke was able to pull the victory that round. He probably would have won anyway, but he was able to pull the victory that round because of a misread, I think. And the second thing is second point, which I'll cover very quickly, but when you've played as much Twilight Imperium as I have, you stop doing necessarily always the correct play and you do the fun play. So I was Argent, I pulled Construction, and I thought to myself, as my strategy going in, what is the best way to mess around with Duke? Who is probably the key player to mess around with here. So I want to do all non-meta stuff. So a construction objective gets pulled, and I threaten to play construction, my first action. And most people, that's an idle threat. But I'm never an idle threat person, so I'm actually considering doing it, and like no one gave me any value to not do it, so I do it, and the whole board just like erupts with like vitriol.
Yeah.
Dripping vitriol. Like,
Yeah, you're like, oh my.
This Rasmus guy, he's not a team player. Float the boat or whatever.
Yeah, that's the. Yep.
Whatever.
Oh man, it's a big hot topic for us. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I'm like, well, but this is just a position where it doesn't hurt me at all.
Yeah.
And it will set you all back a turn.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sorry that, like, normally, yeah, good guy, whatever, but there's, like, a tournament, competitive, whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, unless you actually give me something that's valuable, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And anyway.
No.
None of that has to do with Muaat, but...
No, I think it does, because you're the type of guy that, like... I mean, you are the Muaat guy. I mean, you popped into my mind for this. I was, like, typing out the faction, like, Rasmus, gotta hit him up. And, like, that's in the mind of someone who would play freaking Muaat, man. And I think that's a good story and kind of gives you the thing. Like, I enjoyed playing Muaat both times I played them. And I can see what draws you to them, I think, is, like, you really got to have solid foundational TI experience. I don't think you can be inexperienced because, like, trade deals are in it, like, knowing how to extract values there.
You also have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because... there's going to be a point in most Muaat games where you're going to extort someone.
Yeah.
And it's not going to feel good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no one wants to be the extortion player.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be comfortable with that as Muaat.
Yeah.
Like, a quick story. I was playing against Hunter one round, one game, and I was playing Muaat. I take the equidistant, and I just leave the War Sun there.
Yeah.
And the number one rule with Muaat is you never activate the War Sun. That is always your last activation, right?
Yeah.
So one round goes by, he's messaging me like crazy, being like, Rasmus, what are you doing with this War Sun? Like, I need to know. And you just don't give him the information.
Yeah.
Right? Because one of the things that people don't largely calculate is... like, just unknown information throws other people off their calculations. And now they have to spend time and energy and effort, even if it doesn't really affect their gameplay, they have to spend effort calculating that when they could be calculating better things. So this persisted over 2 rounds. In the middle of the second round, Hunter just goes, here's my support for the throne. I don't know what you're doing, but, like, I can't think about it anymore. And so it was just a free support for the throne.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only time that's ever happened to me.
Still, I mean, he's a pretty darn good player. And if your power projection and play is going that way, I mean, that says something,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the interesting things about Muaat is that you really do have to consider the positional play. Like in chess, you would consider it a positional player. I think Muaat is a positional player where it's not so much what you do, but what options you open yourself up to that scares other people, and then you can capitalize on. And hopefully you never have to do any of those things. Yeah. Because those are all costly as a Muaat player.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the great pendulum that you're on as a Muaat player, is just like, everyone's terrified that you're going to act against them. But you, as the Muaat player, you're also terrified that you're going to act against them. Because, like, the moment you commit to anything, even if it goes well, like, you're done. Like, that's your round.
Yep.
So, everyone is constantly terrified, and it just, like, mutually assured destruction is a possibility in every conversation that you have. And I just think that's fantastic fun.
No, I agree. And like I said, once I got experience and played Muaat, I had an absolute blast playing them, and I can see why. I never got the opportunity to play them in base game, and I don't think I ever want to. But that's more of a me thing, maybe not a you thing. Maybe not in general thing. I don't want to down talk your faction. It's just more of a, for me as a player, someone who's more drawn. Like, I have trouble getting off the ground a lot of the time. Like, the round 1 negotiations sometimes escape me and move too quickly, and it seems like to be a great Muaat player, you really got to hammer those out and kind of shore up your weaknesses. Do you think that's a good way to sum up, like, their start, if that makes sense, and, like, knowing when to say something about that? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they have a difficult start. It definitely helped in Prophecy of Kings with the Agent. I think more so than maybe being overly involved in the negotiations. You have to be able to do trade.
Yeah.
In some way. So like if you get a player who is not into debt meta, for the 4 people out there that round 1 don't like debt meta and they pick trade, that's deadly as a Muaat. That'll ruin your entire game.
Yeah.
So you have to get a way to get your commodities transferred, refreshed, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the more important thing is the order of operations, especially if you're approaching Muaat. You have to, they're almost like Titans in a way, where you have to know, and that's the number one thing that we always see mess up and why Muaat doesn't do well in tournament play, because if you don't know what you're doing with the order of operations, you end up doing less efficient plays. And if Muaat is going to be, this is sort of why I love Muaat, but it's also because I'm slightly masochistic, I think, is that like, if you are not eking out every last resource of value, then you're just not competitive.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Soul where, like I made a misplay,
No, all of a sudden I have more infantry on this planet. It's fine.
Right. Oh, like the game just gives me an extra command counter. Oh, it's all good. Like, Muaat is just like tooth and nail.
You gotta earn it.
Constantly scrapping for every little thing, and like at their best, you're like converting like through Starforge, you're converting 3 influence into like 4 resources.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's at their like pinnacle.
That's like you're on Christmas land, you're just like setting it up, your planets are great.
Right. And so like it's so much fun for me, and
I had a
like,
blast.
sort of like weird personality where like every win that you get, like you look fondly back on and you're like, yeah, that was like the pinnacle of TI play. Then Muaat's for you.
Yeah.
Because like you just need to be so efficient with everything that you're doing, and the order of operations matters. And so what we see a lot is that like people don't understand Umbat.
Yeah.
And so like they get locked down and they play it wrong, and like that one mistake with
costs your whole game. Yeah.
Costs your whole game. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you can Umbat a carrier and a mech, you're going to feel real good. But if you have to Umbat something else, it's not going to feel nearly as nice.
Right.
That's kind of my thing. Yeah.
It's like Muaat 101.
Yeah.
Or in Muaat 201. Okay. So if you're in like middle play, Muaat, first round, you need to know and organize your Umbat play around warfare, trade, and technology.
Yeah.
Because you need to know how many resources you can spend with Umbat and still pick up technology. Or, shout out to the guide, but like some games you just don't pick technology and you don't do technology because it's, plastic is more important.
Yeah. No, quite frankly. Unless there's an objective out for it. Absolutely. 1000%.
Right. And so the first version of the Muaat guide, there was 4 pages of math equations about the statistic probability of a tech objective coming out.
Yeah.
So to show you how obsessive I am about stuff.
No, man, I appreciate it.
Proofs. It's just proofs on like if, and this is something that I don't know if Space Cat's ever picked up on it, but I always suggested, and maybe you guys can pick up on it, but I think the most important part of the game that is not talked about is what I call the flop.
Oh, absolutely, 1000%.
Yeah,
most important part of the game dictates the pace of the entire game.
Right. And so as Muaat, you cannot do everything.
Yeah.
You're not a faction that can do everything. And so if a technology objective does not come up, then tech for you is a luxury.
Yeah.
You don't always get that luxury.
Yeah.
And so like War Suns 2, they're nice. Are they necessary? Good question. So I would say my recommendation is normally to try and get to War Suns 2 because I prefer that. I think it's
movement's great. Yeah.
Well, but you need movement.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, if I can have my cake and eat it too, War Sun 2 carrier too.
Yeah.
But you don't always get that.
No.
So.
No, absolutely. Well, Rasmus, I mean, I I would love to, maybe if we can get a little side series going, maybe we can get you on and just have a full in-depth Muaat 505, like get your masters in Muaat or something someday.
Oh
But
my god, I would love that. Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun. Maybe me and you, hell, if we got some spare time, hit me up. Maybe we could just have fun, and I can be the dumb guy sitting here taking notes, and we can bounce ideas off each other someday. But with this, I think we're going to wrap up a little bit. But do you have like a one final thing, like maybe a fun Muaat story we can kind of hit as like kind of our send off for this? Is there something that comes to mind? I at least want to give you that.
My Muaat stories are fun stories.
I love that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess the one thing that I will say, just as like in conclusion, is that if I'm Muaat at a table and my Nova Seed has not been played, and there happens to be a Jolnar at the table, I will often privately message the Jolnar player and just say, "Do you have a path?" And that's not me trying to like game the system or whatever. It's the lore of Muaat is that Jolnar are the imperial overlords that enslaved the Muaat people.
Yeah, the Eshla, yeah.
Jolnar are the enemy and not the good guys. They are the bad guys of the story. And so what I'm actually asking you is like, I'm about to do something fun because I no longer have a shot, but I don't want to ruin your game.
Okay.
So
okay.
And I would love to be invited back to talk about like wind slaying philosophies.
That's
a very, very compelling thing.
No, for sure. We're we're always looking for arcs on the show, and this kind of first arc is boat floating and everything like that. But I think we're going to start at the top and work our way down. And I think windslaying is definitely something that we would love to talk about, and we'll put you on the short list, my man, because we're doing like roundtables and stuff. So absolutely. Well, Rasmus, I really appreciate your time, and thanks for putting up with my maybe horrible recording. But thank you.
I hope you got something useful out of it.
Absolutely, my man. Appreciate you, and I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Hey, everybody. I'm sitting here. I'm hanging out with Flight of Fancy to talk Argent Flight. He is the Argent Flight enthusiast we've all wished we could be. But Flight, how you doing today, my man?
Keep you like the peanut butter. How about yourself, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Not as good as you by the sounds of it. But before we get into talking about the birds, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Like, if you don't mind, of course, like where you're from, what you do for a living, all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, I'm a 40-year-old male. I live up in the amazing state of Massachusetts.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I played college volleyball and then played volleyball for the rest of sort of my life until COVID kind of killed that career, and it's my body's loved me for it. That's tremendous. I own my own company. Used to work for my dad. I make my own hours.
Hell yeah.
I'm in my office right now, so it's the office / also the game center.
Oh man, I love that.
We have the whole area there where we can when the guys come over, they just get to chill over in the other area and just have some food. So we life
Hell
is
yeah,
good
dude.
to me.
Are you we're editing this shit. Are you in Boston by chance?
I'm just outside of Boston.
My friend's just like, he's lived there. He went to MIT and then he works for GE up there making attack helicopter engines. And I'll be up there later this year, early next year. I'll hit you up, man. Anyways, nice. Hell yeah, yeah. But yeah, he just bought a house and everything. It's awesome. And Hadrian lives up there too. But moving on. Hell yeah, man. Well, how'd you get involved in like the SCPT, async kind of community? What kind of got you into all that?
So through all of the volleyball that I played, I met a bunch of people who just like to work together as teams, and I've some of my best friends that I've played volleyball with were really big into board games, and that got me started. And then I realized from there other games that I started to enjoy, and one of my best friends who lives up in Maine invited me up to his house one time and was like, "Hey, here's the deal. I just found out this new game. It's 4th edition of Twilight Imperium, but I think you're going to love this because it seems like it's your style of game." And I just went up there, and it was a 4-player game, and it was just so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But it was amazing. We played on Saturday and we played Sunday. We played back-to-back days.
Wow.
Oh, this is just fantastic. And then since then, he's had a child, so he hasn't played as much, but he was a semifinalist back in 2020, and he got me kind of really into it. And then I just started playing it a whole bunch since, and
damn,
that's how I got started. And then I was kind of just poking around after having a baby. The opportunity to just kind of hop on the TI general forum and play whenever the hell you wanted to really dried up.
Yeah.
But when I got hooked into playing with like the split squad for the USA Evening group, which is a pretty active group that has a bunch of sort of recognizable names, and since then it's just kind of just flourished. So
no, that's incredible, man. And it's like really nice that a bunch of different ways to play the game have come out, you know, and it's like really social. I met a lot of awesome people, including yourself. I'd consider us friends, and man, just glad that it worked out that way. What'd you say?
I said F yeah.
Fuck yeah, buddy. But outside of that, I guess we can kind of get into what's going on proper. Like, what really draws you to Argent? Like, to me, as someone who has not had the best experiences playing them, I find them to be not super exciting and easily dunked on if you have one thing not go your way. I don't have a better way to put it, but I think they're a strong faction in the right hands. I just may not have them.
I don't know if it necessarily comes from being a business owner, but I'm quasi stingy.
Okay.
And so Argent is very easy to use if you don't have a lot of resources. Right? Everything is just generally cheap.
Yeah.
And the ability with the hollow lattice that you can even produce out of your PDSs.
Yeah.
It can get you out of like a little bit of a pickle and a bind. And the ability that you can really be extremely flexible with them as well. Is it's almost like a poo-poo platter of however you want to play. The fact you get to pick your starting techs, and you can just kind of expand and just explore them as much as you want to, as opposed to I feel like a lot of other factions are kind of just shoehorned into. You really should just try this way, and that's generally the best way to play these people.
Okay, I like that. So like the inherent flexibility and like kind of like cool little tricks with the hollow lattice. That seems to be kind of like your big draw point, you would say.
Well, I mean, I love the strike wing alphas as far as the defensive ability, but if other people have not like kept you in check, because Argent doesn't just sprint to a victory. They're not like that kind of dominant force. But if other people have started to push themselves a little bit too far, those forces can very easily just go in and snipe out multiple planets from other people if they've kind of left things open that you can potentially take over. So I like the fact that you can be a little aggressive, even though I am probably the opposite of an aggressive player.
Yeah, you really are, though. Yeah.
But you, as a defensive faction, I like them, but they also have the offensive ability and capabilities, as opposed to some of the other more defensive factions that really it's hard to turn them into an offensive faction unless you 100% focus on doing that.
No, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. No, I like that a lot. And I think like what I'm really drawn to when I do play them is like people really don't want to mess with you, you know, because like you can pop 4 mechs down with like one single strike wing. I think the mech ability is one of the coolest in the game, honestly. Like what? So if you have to have like, what's your like one hot tip? Like if you had to pick one thing that you need to know when playing Argent, what would you tell someone?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
No, for sure. Like, what just jumps right to mind? It doesn't have to be like a big thing. It's like, you know what? Like, use your strong start. Like, focus on scoring points. It'd be something as simple as that, or, you know.
Yeah, your start is obviously fantastic, and the ability that you're going to have a chance to unlock your commander pretty much first turn, if need be. So if you get an aggressive neighbor, the fact that you're going to have a pretty good start, I feel like is huge. For whatever reason, I'm not drawn to factions that start slow.
Same. Absolutely.
So it's just anything that just takes a long time to get off the ground is less appealing. But anything that can kind of start slow, even though sometimes that means if it's like the third or the fourth round and there's nothing to do because everybody just kind of has their spend objective or whatever diversified research comes out and you're like, oh, okay, well, we could attack each other.
Yeah.
But we could just kind of sit in our slices and not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be tricky because they certainly can get pushed around, like you were mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
They can be very good defensively if you happen to go with a defensive setup. If you go red, yellow to start, get your PDS2 potentially on the earlier side, and just try to be defensive. But a lot of that depends on the factions, I personally feel like, that are your neighbors. Because if you don't have factions that are going to come and boss you around, then you don't necessarily have to go with the red, yellow, and you can just go experiment and try something else different.
Yeah, and get your value and try to like maybe move towards objectives or something like that, or even maybe not go tech at all, right? Like just pump out more plastic, which is, if construction's being picked a lot, you may be able to pull off, right? That's kind of my thought with them. I mean, you can build 8 strike wings, so.
You certainly can.
Yeah. No, so that's pretty cool. Do you have like any fun stories to share? Like maybe like a favorite Argent play or like in a tournament game or anything like that?
Well, in the tournament, I only ever got to play him once.
Mm-hmm. How'd that go?
So I don't. Well, that was after about 9 hours. The first tournament game I ever played. After about 9 hours, my brain just shut down.
Oh no!
And I went decently well, but I eventually accepted someone's support swap, and then they ended up winning in the action phase in like the 5th round. But it was more of a learning. I had a lot of fun with the faction, and I was able to accomplish a lot. But really, just the mind fuck of playing for such a long time.
Yeah, and like at a high level too. Yeah, no, that seems to be a big drain on everyone, especially me. It seems like all my games go crazy long, but you know how much I like to talk, so I absolutely get that.
The amount of talking isn't necessarily as in my opinion, that what takes long. It's just that if people, it's tricky. I know people want to win. I'm not a really competitive person. I'd rather have everybody have a fun time. Someone's going to win. 5 people are going to lose. I'm not going to like try to cut someone's heart out just to make sure I have a 2% better chance of winning the game. I just want to make sure everybody's having a fun time. I like to joke around and try to make sure people are laughing.
Yeah, enjoying themselves. It's a game. Yeah.
Exactly. And someone's going to win. Ideally, it's me. And I just hope that people, I mean, obviously there's plenty of people that just feel like they have to maximize every move. And I have friends that have tried Twilight and I don't play with them anymore. I'm like, no, this is just dumb. Like, goodness gracious, after 13 hours of like a 6-player game and you're still like not sure what you should be doing because
when
you're trying to optimize everything. Yeah. It's just like, so I don't even invite them over to play anymore.
I get that.
It's more of talking is part of the game. Like you have to have that banter. You have to have that. But it's the potentially all of a sudden it's my turn. It's like, oh, I haven't even thought of what I'm going to do. And now all of a sudden it's 7 minutes later. I'm going through these 9 permutations in my head as to what I should be doing. And that potentially could happen even in async. And it's just like, come on. Async, it's only you have 12 hours to think of your exact move because things can shift right before. But sometimes when it's like a day and a half in between people's turns, it's like, come on, you got to be kidding.
No, for sure. And I think that's why, like me personally, I'm kind of like Argent definitely in an async or anywhere setting. It's like someone simple like them, like very straightforward point. Great for me. Don't like, I know NRA is my favorite faction. I'll say it time, and I know they're crazy complex, but I've played them enough where it's a little better off. But I think Argent should really appeals to me in that sense. Like how simple they can be, and like the craziest plays for them, I guess. Like it's kind of weird to ask for a good Argent story, also when you think about it, because like the only cool stuff you can do with them is maybe with their hero, or maybe get a weird turn 2 War Sun. But how would you even afford that? You know, it's like I don't know, like they're a faction that's very balanced, in my opinion. I think that's like how I feel about it.
My favorite story, I guess, was my buddy who introduced me to TI. I was playing a game against him while I was Argent, and it was his favorite faction is the Bugs, which I don't know. That just I
that's
don't
so foreign to me. I hate playing them. Oh man, it's not enjoyable. Yeah.
I mean, he tells me it's like driving a broken car down the road and you hope like the wheels don't fall off. I was like, but how is that fun? That literally doesn't sound fun at all.
What do you do for fun, man? That's what I ask him. Like,
but he had Mechatol, and I went in with a couple Strike Wing Alphas with some of my mechs, and he had Exo 2s, and he destroyed everything except for one last ship.
Oh man.
He didn't remember at that time that you could strap 3 mechs onto the side of just one Strike Wing Alpha. So all of a sudden, like, he blew up the rest of his fleet
Yeah.
And I only had 1 ship left, and I was like, well, but I still have an infantry and 3 mechs.
Yeah.
To now take over Mechatol from you and
man.
get a win. So
that's awesome. Because like those dreadnoughts probably murder your strike wings, like if in a straight battle. Like,
oh yeah, he didn't have to do it, but of course he forgot at that moment what the mech ability was and was like, sweet, whatever, I'll just
win the game. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. You can't take it back. You're not taking it back. Yep. Nope. Totally. I love that, actually. I love that just because it really shows something cool the faction can do, which like I really vibe with that. And I mean, best start in the game and to finish like that, because I always feel like with them, people who do with them, they're limping across the finish line like that because everyone can blow your plastic up to a point, you know? And like in the past tournament, people were taking their home systems at the highest rate of any faction. But at the same time, they also had the highest average score, but besides Winu, which was, you know, they just kind of reach 8 points, 9 points, no matter what. But but no, that's like incredible, and I think that's a really good point. And I really appreciate like thinking about it that way. But Flight, like, do you have any other factions you're wanting to try out, or do you like kind of like staying in your lane and playing your favorites?
I've tried just about all of them. I don't particularly like aggressive factions, so I'm very finicky. Like my buddies who I play a decent amount with, which I'm giddy about, because in 2 weeks we finally get a chance to get together again after the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And kids are old enough now that the wives are like, "That's fine, you guys can all get back together again."
Yeah.
But I don't like table heat, and my buddies like to joke around with me that I know I personally have a relationship with the captain of every little ship that I send out there. So even like my Strike-Wing Alphas, they're like, "Oh God, don't have Paul go like fly to his death, and like make sure Tom knows that he's talking to his wife before he's like." So I've never played SAR, I've never played Nalu, so more of the aggressive-ish factions. I don't like. Probably my least favorite faction to play is Muaat, which I know they don't have to be aggressive, but you can get a lot out of playing Muaat aggressively if you're threatening people with your War Suns.
Yeah.
And I don't like extortion at all. I just if someone tries to typically extort me, I say just do what you got to do and move on. Like
you're me, you are me. It's like either just like do it or you don't. Like either we both gain value or you just waste something on me. Congratulations. Yep.
Exactly.
No, I totally get that. And it's really funny you mentioned Muaat because I spoke with Rasmus earlier today, and he was like, read the guide, but the big thing you can take from the guide is that like the last thing you do is lock those War Suns down, and you never tell anyone where they're going, ever. Not once, because just the existential threat of what they're going to do affects the game, and they have a lot of inertia. And it's like I get that. Whereas with Argent, like I feel like they have a little similar vibe with their strike wings on undefended planets and stuff like that from times. But you're not aggressive, so and more for you and like knowing you, it's more like your comfortability with Argent is that like no one's going to mess with me, but no one's going to think I'm going to mess with them because I have what I need here. And if I want something, like I can go get it whenever I want it, but I'll talk to them first. And we can be reasonable about this, I think. And I think that brings a weird bargaining power with them because they rarely have money to give to people. But I guess if they know you could take it anyway, but you're never like the threat's in the back of their mind, but they don't say it to you directly, maybe that could be part of it, you know? It's just something to think about.
I have a hard time playing aggressively, and it seems like most of my games are fairly negotiated with what's going on, and so it's tricky because their promissory note can be either great or it just can be a dumpster fire. Like there's so many factions that just don't care about their promissory, so it's you can't necessarily throw that in as a bonus because people I don't need that. Like that's
why would I? Yeah,
really for me if unless I come into like the perfect situation where I desperately need that one die for this one special ability.
Yeah.
So, it can be tricky. I mean, obviously with the fact that they can do a lot of damage right up front with their Strike-Wing Alphas really can be huge. But if you then get into a fight afterwards, as soon as you're just rolling your normal die and you're hitting on a 7, if you're going up against like a couple of dreads or so, now all of a sudden it's like, well, you got to weigh those odds because now they might be damaged.
Yeah, and if you don't want Tom's family to miss out on Tom. You really don't. No. You can't be sending Tom on a suicide mission. I agree with that.
you do that, and then you feel like absolute shit the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then you're like, don't worry, I'll call up Tom's brother later, and his wife's like, yeah, he's not the same.
It's not the same at all. Oh man, I love that. I think like more people should try a weird green yellow start or something goofy with them and just see where it takes you. Because I mean, red yellow, like it's not getting it done. You know, like it feels. I don't know where you'd go with it, but wait, is there any fun kind of tech paths you've gotten off with that? Like going green at first? By chance, if you've played them? Mm-hmm.
I don't play them as much as I like. Because they're a newer-ish faction.
Yeah, I mean,
I probably only have like 7 or 8 games, I'd say, with them under my belt. Because when they came out and they were new, everybody else wanted to play them. Like, I mean, obviously they came out with Prophecy of Kings, and there's other factions that came out.
Yeah,
but they were one of the hotter factions. I feel like.
I mean, they won the tournament. You know, the year POK came out. I mean, people thought about their strength level for that, so I totally get that. Yeah.
So I haven't gone like too crazy. Like when I used to do it, I used to just to start. I would always just go green, red because I just love action cards. They're just they can be addicting.
Oh, it's gambling, absolutely, 100%, right there with you.
And if you don't play with aggressive people as your neighbors, then you might not need Hollow Lattice.
Yeah.
Because you're not as worried about them trying to come in. You're not as worried about PDS2. Now, of course, the basic green doesn't really get you anything for like unit upgrades or going anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But you get AI dev, and then if you want to, you can skip into PDS2. You got your Strikewing Alpha 2, and now you're just getting extra action cards each turn. So I haven't done anything too crazy. I mean, obviously, you can just very easily get War Suns if you wanted to, and it's like, that's not like original. That's not like I did anything super crazy that Jadeem Jedi would be giddy about. Like, oh my God, you did that.
I'll tell him you said that. Oh my goodness, I love that. Man, Flight, we got to have a beer sometime. Maybe I should come up and visit you. It seems like it'd be a real fun hang, man. But
absolutely,
yeah, you know, I'm digging it, and I'll have to give him a second chance because I've been approaching them too aggressively and just losing some stuff with it. Maybe I've been like playing Angry Birds when I need to just be like hanging out with the birds, you know. But that's just kind of my thought.
Mm-hmm. It depends on your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It depends on how aggressive they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you play them aggressively, and someone decides to return that aggression, and they're a faction that can easily handle your aggression, then it makes it a lot harder.
Yeah. No, I had a Nalu neighbor in one of my games, and it was the most miserable experience of my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I mean, they had the mech, and I was like, well, I'm just sad. I was going
to say, especially Codex 3. I remember, like, before Codex 3, one of my buddies was like, oh, I really want to try Nalu. I'm like, go for it. I'll be Argent, and I'll just kick the shit out of you because you literally will have nothing to stop.
Yeah, congratulations. I'll land every single AFB on you, and you're just sad. Congratulations.
Yeah, go for it. Have fun.
No, I think I'm going to have to, Flight, because, you know, like, they're the first, like, I have been probably since March of this year, like within I go into the final round within striking distance. Like even in PBD 69 when I was Cabal and I was like, I'm out of this game. That was because of speaker order, you know?
Right.
So I think like that game with Argent, with Nalu's my neighbor, is the only game since then where I literally am a dead man walking for like 3 straight rounds. And maybe that was more a me thing and not an Argent thing is what I'm getting at. And I should definitely try them out because yeah, they're one of the few factions where I've had, like, I just felt like I was out of my breath in the whole game, out of my depth in the whole game, I mean. So, yeah.
Well, but as you mentioned, if you think, like, some factions just have a natural counter, right, to whatever your specialty is. And if you're looking at the birds, their specialty is anti-fighter barrage and their straight-wing alphas. And if you put a mech out there, a new Nalu mech, you're taking away the majority of what they have that makes them special, and now you're playing a more like vanilla faction.
Yeah,
there's not that much you can do with because you're losing your abilities.
Yep. Yeah, and you can't not build the Strikewing alphas. You can't like switch to dreads or something on the fly. But maybe, you know what? I'm learning things every day, and that's why I love TI. And I'm very thankful to have met you and a lot of the other people I'll be interviewing for this. But Flight, I really appreciate you taking the time coming to talk. Do you have any one last send off? Anything you want to say or anyone you want to shout out before I let you go?
I mean, not necessarily, other than, come on, USA Evening Crew, let's actually get a fucking split session game together. Goodness gracious, it's been like 4 or 5 months.
Oh my God! Well, hey, hit me up, dude. I got one more weekend, this one split, and then I'm probably down to hop in one with you, my man.
Yeah, we got, like I said, there's a whole bunch of people that pretty much everybody you're playing with now in our current game is part of that same crew that would always get together on the other Discord server, and just we would have split sessions. Sometimes every other week, practically, we would be playing a split session game. But since the summer started, it's just dried up, and just the activity over there is just dried out.
Well, we're rolling into fall and winter, and I think that'll be picking up. And that's what this is. TI time, baby. We're getting into the tournament. People are gonna start taking this seriously. You know.
Damn straight.
Hell yeah. Hey, Flight Brother, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you real soon, my man.
Fuck yeah, buddy.
All right, and welcome. We are here to a new segment. I don't even know what to call this one quite yet, but we got this really cute looking dog, and that's actually the name of the segment, is we have a cute dog, is what we have. No, but for real, I'm sitting here with Elspeth, who's got the dog, and Caluin, my homeboy, my dear friend, just across the river from me over down here in the Pacific Northwest. And we are all in different ways Yssaril stands. That's kind of what is bringing us together at this very moment. And the purpose of this whole sit down and talk is just to figure out what that means to each of us, and what's our hot takes, what's our strategies, tips, and where I want to start specifically is where's who are you, first of all, and what's going on with you, and what's your history with the game, when'd you start with the faction, and just kind of go from there is what I'm feeling.
Awesome. Well, I can kick that off. I'm Elspeth. This is Pi.
Oh, Pi. Hello.
Oh. She likes being on the camera, and she also loves Twilight Imperium. She's my own little sneaky goblin.
Oh.
And I've been playing Twilight Imperium for a lot of years. Online Twilight Imperium about the last year or so. My history with the Yssaril is actually pretty funny. I learned to play Twilight Imperium in 3rd edition, and my group banned the Yssaril. Way before I started playing it. Or before I even started playing Twilight Imperium. So all I knew about the Yssaril were they're that banned faction. And then 4th edition came out, and I was like, hey, let's give this a try. I think my 3rd game of 4th edition, I tried out the Yssaril. I had no idea what they would be like, and it was just this beautiful feeling of this is a match made in heaven. And so I won that game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The angels were singing, and
totally.
The action cards were being drawn and played, and I just really enjoyed it. The play style was
you won that game. Can you do you remember what the checkmate was necessarily?
It was a very strange game in which the SAR rolled their entire ball into the Necro home system, and they basically mutually annihilated. So that was hilarious.
Wow.
So there were actually 2 players eliminated in that game.
Okay.
And I picked up the pieces, we'll say.
Wild.
But yeah, it was definitely wild. And just since then, the Yssaril have been definitely my favorite faction. I have a ridiculously high win rate on the Yssaril compared to other factions.
Okay. All right.
It's about an 80% win rate.
Yeah, same.
Humble brags both. Yeah.
My win rate on normal factions is not that high, but my win rate's very high with the Yssaril. They just fit my playstyle super well, and pass it on.
Yeah, I'll say this about them: they are reliable in that way. They have low variance in terms of it's when you're drawing that many action cards and you have the different things that you can do with them, you're just straightforward good at a reliable pace. Even if you draw the shit ACs, it's still good. It's still good, and you're able to maintain this good above board level of I'm just performing well,
That's probably the best strength of Yssaril, is that action cards can be so swingy one way or another. like how many times have you drawn unexpected action on round one, and like, hey, this changes my entire round one, versus I drew bribery and diplomatic pressure. With Yssaril, it mitigates a lot of that. They're just a normal, functional faction. They have a great start, but they have this ability that allows them to take a lot of that variance out of the action cards and really smooth out the rest of their game. That's why I really like it.
Hell yeah. So we got a camera finally working over here. We got Caluin, my boy, on camera. Caluin, can you give us a little introduction, background, anything you want to tell the folks about yourself?
Yeah, so I started playing TI probably around late 2018.
Oh, okay.
I'll say the SCPT 2019 tournament, where I played Necro versus Farganus and a bunch of other people. That was my second game ever.
Whoa, interesting. Wow.
And I made a good enough showing in that. I was like, hey, I kind of like this. So I just sort of stuck around with the community and been playing off and on for a long time. It actually took a long time before I played the Yssaril, because I consider them to be too simple, too vanilla, and I wanted to try all the special factions I want. My first game was with Muaat. Ooh, I want to play the War Sons. My second game was Necro. Ooh, I want to play with this weird technological stuff.
Totally.
But once I played Yssaril, I really just enjoyed how straightforward they were, and then how flexible. That's the big thing I really love about Yssaril, is how flexible. They can do just about anything. And then POK landed, and they just got a bunch of really nice tools that made them a joy to play. But anything you can do, I can do just a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually the perfect jumping off point for me. Like, I told them before we started recording, like, I don't know how much I need to talk, honestly. Like, I'll just step in and I'll tell my one story. And I think this is the perfect setup for it. The anything you can do, I can do better. I think I talk about it in like the other episode or whatever. The timeline is very confusing for me at this moment, but I played in this TIGL game that was really kind of a rough and rocky one, but I was having some good luck. I was having some hot shit going on. I'm playing Yssaril, having good draws, getting the mechs out, keeping the tempo up and everything. And the biggest deal ever in that game was that Nalu was over on my right. Nalu was having a really rough game. And here was the big thing that was going on with them, which is the classic. You've seen it so many times. They have the supernova directly to their left on the edge, and then the two flop objectives are 3 on the edge, 3 empties. So that one supernova just completely wrecked like their entire scoring potential in the early game, and it was just like, it was rough for them. I was having a hot time, and I just used Zayu every round. And it was like I almost used JR in like the final round, because I was like, I really need a space dock or whatever. But then I was like, I'm just going to take construction, put the block forward dock down, use Zayu there. It's like, it's just so good every single time. And that I will get up on my soapbox and say that Yssaril is S tier when Nalu is in the game and, like not directly messing with your stuff, and you just get to enjoy the benefits of having Zayu whenever you want. That's what I'll say. Yssaril S tier in that circumstance. Yeah, I didn't win the game, but had a hot one regardless.
Yeah. I would argue that depending on the circumstances, Yssaril can be S tier in a lot of different scenarios, regardless of whether Nalus are around. But, they certainly show their power when the Nalu are in the game.
I feel like as long as they have one good agent to copy, they're fine. But if all the other agents at the table are garbage, then they're going to struggle.
Right. But it doesn't take anything super broken. Because, like, Jameer Khan is great to copy. You can make sweet deals with the Muaat that way.
Yep.
You can copy, Grokudo is a fine copy, the turtle.
Well, I consider him to be the second best agent in the game.
Fair enough. But even if someone just happens to get junior partway through the game, like that's good enough too, and it doesn't have to be you, right? So
I feel
there's
like
a lot of ways.
I feel like Karth of the Golden Sands is like a really greasy feeling one, but like it's still good. You know what I mean? It's like when you can make that much money appear, it's like pretty fucking wild.
Well, if the Hakan are in the game, then Karth of the Golden Sands in your hands is so much more broken than it is in their hands because they're a 6 commodity faction you could trade with.
Yeah.
I posted this that I have when we were doing the Yssaril faction guide. SCPT was they're putting out their preliminary guides on it. I put this post about how one of the most broken things you can do, this was long before Zoo, or Zoo Omega, was that you could make free money with Hakan. And everybody was, it was the hottest rage, 5 for me, 4 for you, we'll split them back and forth. And my take was, you need to stop doing this because Hakan's getting more out of this than you are.
Totally.
They're getting more out of your agent than you are. I actually, it never took off, but I said, what good Yssaril players should do is they should start that conversation. They should swap their trade agreements, and then they should just break the deal with Hakan and just keep their trade agreement.
Now that's not how I play it, but I am not a very deal breaking sort of player. But
I want other people to break deals.
Sure.
Yeah, for me, that kind of conversation is like, I'm getting 6, you're getting 4, but maybe I won't mage on you this round kind of situation. Yeah, no, you can. There's lots of things you can do with lots of different agents, and because you have such a solid base and such a solid start, and the ability to control your timing really, really thoroughly, there's just a million. There's a million things you can do with other people's agents that they can't necessarily even do with their agents.
Well, okay, Elspeth, I want to ask you something. Since you mentioned the start, how do you rate Ysaril's start? Not just their starting fleet, their entire package.
I think it's one of the strongest in the game. Their fleet contributes to that, for sure. They have a 2 carrier start with 5 infantry. That's, I mean, their fleet is strictly better than the Sardic one, and Sardic is the only other one with 5 infantry, I think, that I'm thinking of.
Totally.
And yeah, so, but yeah, they're very strong in terms of just being able to do that. I think because they can copy people's agents, there's the strict power of their ability to start depends a little bit on what other agents are in the game. If Mendoza's in the game, for example, or Zeu, then totally. You can get wherever you want to get.
Yeah.
So I think that also contributes to their strength. But otherwise, they don't. A lot of factions need a specific strategy card to kind of get started. Some factions, like SAR, really, really wants construction happening. Jolnar, wants tech to exist, and then whatever after that. If trade doesn't get taken, there's a very sad kitty cat at the table. The Yssaril don't really need that particularly much.
Yes.
And true, but the Yssaril can also kind of take advantage of some of the strat cards in ways that other people or other factions can't necessarily do. So, for example, you secondary politics, you have 2 mechs to take more stuff in your slice if you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that they have a really strong start. Their starting tech and their lack of mobility in the techs can be a weakness. But honestly, the fact that they have a green start and both of their faction technologies are green, if you do want both, it just means you have a super straightforward path. You're going to end up with hypermet probably pretty early for the income, and you're not like weak in the trade department either. You have plenty of commodities, plenty of just ability to do various stuff, a lot of flexibility. So I think they actually have a pretty strong start. The only thing they don't have is a lot of really strong ships on the board. Yeah. And so you do have to be careful of factions that are going to like have a lot on the ground, like Sardak, or that are going to be able to like have a lot of ships that are really powerful, like eventually like an L1, or if there's a Titans player, they might be able to take your stuff or give you a hard time.
One thing I hear a lot of people say is that Yssaril is very plastic weak, and that's their biggest failing. And I really kind of disagree with that. And I find almost invariably that anybody who says that Yssaril is plastic weak, especially in the first round, are the same people who use their 2/3 planet on a token round 1. And so, well, yeah, if you're spending your home system resources on a token, which granted is more efficient, but you need that early plastic out. And I think that's true for every faction. Right. You don't need to start fights, but fights come find you if you are plastic light.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it depends a little bit on how you choose to start, and how you choose to start depends a little bit on who else is at the table and what it looks like, right? Because you can do that plastic light start to have extra counters, maybe get your score done, and maybe get a secret objective, whatever.
If I've got Wind on one side of me and Empyrean on the other, I probably don't have to worry about my plastic so much. If I've got L1 and Barony, it's a different story.
Right. Yeah. And you definitely can customize. And that's one of the things about flexibility. Not a lot of factions can do that, kind of give up their plastic and just have more kind of tokens and other stuff. So that's like, in my opinion, another benefit.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point and kind of piggyback off of something Elspeth was saying, where, I mean, so they're so flexible in this way where, yes, they don't really care all the time of like having a specific strategy card to accomplish their goals, which is like the ideal state if you're playing any faction. Like, I feel like this is just such a common sentiment right here, where you're like, where I want to be is able to score whatever public objective that I need to score, just like without even taking the strategy card into consideration. So then I can just take politics, control the speaker token for next round, try and get ahead in some other way. Like, that's what I want to do. Like, so if you're any faction, you can like feel that way most of the time. And then when you're Yssaril, it's like you are thirsting for that ideal situation even more, because it means so much more to you. Like the extra draw and then discard or whatever, it's like you're filtering for like literally the best shit, and you can find a use for like just about any action card at any time. And then the speaker control just makes you feel so powerful, you know. It's just like, it's madness when you like get locked into that kind of situation. It's great. It's great.
And I'll tell you, there is nothing more addicting than drawing 3 sabotages and discarding one of them and having the table lose their shit.
Yeah, you can use those discards to send a message, and I'm definitely here for it.
Yeah, this is
especially if you're. It's even better if you get codex, but even without that, you can definitely send a message with your discards that like you're in control. And yeah, politics is so good for the Yssaril because you are getting control and options, which is just absolutely fabulous. And because you can control your timing as well as you can, that just, yeah, it's all very good for you, for sure.
Wow. Now I'm curious if we have any hot takes that you all feel like you have. Is there like unconventional stuff that you do, or do you wish that the meta would get shaken up a little bit on a particular thing?
Well, I handle Magion a little bit differently than a lot of other players do. So for me, I get Magion as early as I possibly can, and that includes taking tech if I can.
I don't think that's different, but okay, it's probably the next part.
Yeah. Even if it's making me a little lighter in plastic, but instead of just using Magion as a weapon, I get it, and then when I am about to use it, I will like sit the table down and be like, okay, it's time to have the Magion talk. What I'm gonna do is, I'm going to go around the table and Magi on everybody, just around the table. I'm not going to break that pattern unless you're like about to win the game, like truly. And when I do Magi on you, I'm not going to just take the best card. I'm gonna take a card. If there's a sabotage, I'm probably gonna take a sabotage, and like the table kind of understands that. But if there's not a sabotage and there's a card that's really important to your plan, I'll let you keep it. I'll take something else, because to me, the value of Magion is not having the best cards necessarily. It's having the knowledge of what everybody else is doing.
Straight up.
And every card is valuable to me as a stall or a mech or whatever. Right? Exactly. So I can take a card that they don't care that much about. I'm still benefiting. I'm getting the stall from using Magion, and I'm getting the information of whatever's in their hand. And I'm taking so much less heat that way, because they're not mad that I'm taking away like the thing that they're trying to like do, right? And so I definitely handle that a little bit differently, because I'm not as aggressive about it. And I think that reduces some of the heat that you get as Yssaril for like disrupting people's hands, because that does make people mad sometimes. And so mitigating that is good. And I feel like I'm still getting all the benefits that I want from Magion that way.
I do something very similar. I don't go for Magion right away. I try to fix a couple of things. I really like DET as Yssaril. I'll talk about that. But I'll get it around round 3, round 4. And when I get it, I'll tell the table, say, hey, look, I am fishing for this particular card. Maybe I really need a flank speed right now, or maybe I just want a shield holding. If you show me a shield holding, I'll Magion that, and I will leave the rest of your hand alone. Otherwise, what you can do is you can show me your hand right now, and I won't Magion you, unless you have that specific card that I'm looking for. You can show me what you have. If you don't have what I'm looking for, I won't Magion you. Okay. And that seems to also work really well.
Totally.
And like a little bit. Oh, sorry.
No, you go on.
A little bit when you're playing Yssaril, you kind of need to make a character for yourself of just like, what is the tone of this? How am I handling this? And obviously, Caluin and I do this slightly differently, but it ends up in kind of a similar place of just like for me, I'm going to get as many action cards as I possibly can, and I'm just going to be obsessed with that, right? And so when you put it in that context, it also like reduces the heat and is a thing.
See, I'm the other way around. I like to play my action cards as I get them. I don't like to keep a large hand as these are. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, you activate me? Okay, let me check my 28 cards." And see what's I don't do that.
My record's 38.
That's a lot. Just for the folks at home, that is a lot.
I'm kind of the opinion that Twilight Imperium is a game of snowball. The better you do in the earlier rounds, the better you'll have on the later rounds. So I want to use my resources early so that I can secure a better position in the earlier rounds, so I have a better position in the later rounds.
And I actually go the opposite way. When I'm Yssaril, instead of having like lots of heat from the table of like, oh, you're winning or whatever, I want stability at the beginning. I want to make sure I'm not getting eaten or anything, but make sure that I'm like making a reasonable economy and scoring every round like consistently. Maybe get my secrets done, and then in the last round or two, I can just have the big swing rounds, because at that point, like I'm using my giant hand of action cards that I've been hoarding as a control mechanism, basically, where I can be absolutely 100% sure that everybody's done with their stuff and I have free reign on the table. For the last maybe 2 rounds of the game, and get the big swings that I need that way. I think that they're both valid strategies, but definitely a little bit different.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's really fun to have rounds like that where you're just hoarding up your potential energy for a long time, and then you're just able to just like go crazy. Like that is fun. But I definitely also gotta like agree with Caluin's side of it. And my specific other take on it, like, my first hot take or whatever is just use Zayu every round when you're Yssaril, because that's just like what you do. That's my first hot take. The second one is I don't really care what the action cards are that I draw in the early game. Even if they're like good action cards, they're mechs.
Yeah.
In the early game, like I think it's so insane. It's like it's almost like not necessarily. It feels like the design was not necessarily fully thought out, where it was like, oh, this is so thematic for Yssaril or whatever. But it just seems like such a good deal. It's such an insanely a good deal, because it's like you were gonna stall anyway. You know what I mean? Like you drew this like, or at least this is how I play it. Is like I drew this card. It's like even kind of whatever a good card, but I really value stalling, so I was going to stall anyway. And then I just trade that in for $2, like in a forward position with an unlocked carrier that is ready to like go take the equidistant from someone that was only able to get there with 1 or 2 infantry or something. You know, it's like you have this like early game strength and positional control that other factions like wouldn't have access to, and all that it takes is being willing to ditch these things that you got like very easily, you know? So
yeah,
I play action card low, I play tech light, you know what I mean? I go plastic heavy, and I just like use that stuff and turn it around into like tangible shit and just kind of go hard in the paint a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely play action card heavy. For me, I think that I don't know. I think that the knowledge differential, like of just what you know you can do and what other people don't know is happening, what you know is in other people's hands, is actually really important a lot of the time. But I agree that Yssaril actually play really nicely, really tech light. That's something we hadn't really talked about, but I agree. For me, it's usually up to Magion, Grav Drive, done. So
I do have to call out, Raptor has a wonderful War Goblin method where he goes up red, gets War Suns with them.
What?
And he's done it a couple of times. Each time it is hilarious to see him play them.
Goodness gracious.
I wouldn't say they're more or less efficient that way, but they are very fun to see happen.
Wow. How interesting. Red green. No one ever talks about red green, but there you got red green, man. Yeah, that just sounds like a fun, like just wacky, different take to try with them. Oh my gosh. How do you guys feel? Oh wait, no, you go. I
was gonna say. So since we're talking about tech, I have a controversial hot take. I like DET on Yssaril.
Yes.
I think just about everything you draw from DET is great for Yssaril. The only thing that really kind of sucks is the Ion Storm. But on the other hand, even Ion Storm's not bad if you have no wormholes, because now you have more options to go places.
They love the Lost Crew. Oh my god.
Lost Crew is amazing. I'm running this one game right now. I've had DETs on round 1. I've taken 3 tokens because it was 3 empty spaces. So of course I got DET.
Yeah.
Great. And of those 3 tokens, I got 5 command counters and 3 trade goods back.
Yeah, no, that's absolute value. And like if you are in a slice that makes sense for that, I think it makes a ton of sense. No, obviously if you're in a slice that's like, you know, a supernova and 4 systems with planets, you're just like maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not much.
Right. But no, I completely agree. That makes like quite a bit of sense.
Yeah. Getting that many tokens back is just so crazy, stupid good in the.
I also drew Summit on round 1, so it's a pretty dumb game. It's
yeah.
Round 2, I can't pull any more things out of my bag, and I haven't taken leadership yet.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. You definitely want to have a lot of counters. It's just useful for whatever you need to do eventually. But yeah, I think one of the things that's the coolest about the Yssaril is there's so many different playstyles you can do, and your abilities are good to facilitate all of them. Because, you know, your action cards do all kinds of shenanigans. You're
really the only barrier to entry of Yssaril is knowing how to. You don't even need to know all 120 action cards. You just need to know how to rate them as you see. You need to know that, Shield's Holding's actually better than it might seem. But probably better than okay, I'll throw away them.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also think that it's hard to play the Yssaril if you're someone who is very aggressive. The Yssaril aren't great at like, I'm gonna go eat my neighbor. They don't have the tools that help doing that. And so they don't have anything that's specifically stopping them, but they don't inherently have like the movement or like the crazy good ship to do it for you. So I don't think
require on those action cards to swing.
Yeah, and you can definitely do that for like targeted things. But if your goal in a game of Twilight Imperium is to play Space Risk and eat your neighbor completely, don't pick the Yssaril. They're not going to do it for you.
For sure. I'm curious if we can swing the conversation to some maybe like some of the like lesser talked about or maybe lesser used parts of the kit or something. Like, how do you guys feel about transparasteel plating? Perhaps, maybe.
I feel that it has fallen out of favor, especially with biostims taking its place.
Exactly.
You just take biostims now. You don't take transparasteel.
Yeah. Biostims is basically your faction tech.
Yeah, it basically is. And once Magian even hits the table, everybody's like, well, I guess I'm just going to play my action cards now before you steal them anyways. So nobody has those action cards to play later anyways. So
I see what you're saying. It's like
because you're Magioning everyone, you know what you need to plan around. Usually wait till after politics to do your Magioning, just so you have the maximum amount of information.
Of course. Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, because it really has always been about Magion, and it's like the existence of that one tech like shifts the whole balance of everything enough where it's like, the other one just doesn't really have any room to grow. And that's a good point about biostims, whereas like now that's just totally taken its place.
Right. When you were skipping Daxif, it was good.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. I'm wondering, I'm just like wondering if there's any room or any just possible world where you're like, I'm doing these other techs, I'm not even getting Magion, but I'm just going to pick up transparasteel plating because that's going to be useful to like my strategy or whatever.
I don't think so, because biostims is just good to refresh planets.
Exactly.
It's great with fleeing relay. There's too many good things with biostims.
There's definitely a world where you can play Yssaril without Magion. I don't think it's a very good world because the information you get from using Magion, the negotiations you can make using Magion, and just the additional stalls you get from Magion are really, really strong. But I don't think there's a world where you would get transparasteel, really, unless it's like the last round, you're the last one left, you're going to check it, and just like, if you know someone has a sabotage that you didn't grab or something, then I guess you could do it.
So you're saying there's a chance.
If it's free to do, then it's fine. But otherwise, I don't really see a reason for it.
Yeah. Well, as always, it's about two faction tech. Secret is what it's about. that's where you go for
that too.
Yeah. A lot of faction techs are like that, really. How do you guys feel about the flagship? Because I low key love the flagship.
It's probably right up there in the top 3 for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's the only flagship in the game that naturally moves to.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 that do, right? Nomad is the other one.
Yeah,
but
Memoria 2.
But
Memoria 2 like doesn't even count in a way. It's like its own like stupid thing that just exists in like a different universe, bro.
Right. It's a tech, yeah. So
totally. But no, but you just build the Yssaril flagship and then it just goes, baby. It just trucks right along. And I love the idea of like you kind of have a windfall of, let's say, just a windfall of trade goods in the early game, and the public is out there or whatever, and you're like, well, it's time to build my flagship for the point or whatever. And then with a lot of factions, when they do that and they're like, well, I can actually afford to build my flagship, then they're just like, well, I guess my flagship is sitting at home and just defending my home system, and I don't really want to bother moving it anyway. And then with Yssaril one, it's like this can go anywhere. It can do anything.
Yeah.
It can do,
and you're very likely to have a flank speed to make it go even faster too.
Exactly.
So it's great for like targeted things. So end of a round, I just need that one more planet. I just need that one ship in this one place.
I just need to take Hope's End before you spend it so that I can get more action cards off of it.
Yeah.
Sounds great as Yssaril. You get the filter going because it's draw 2, discard 1, and if you don't like the card, it's still a mech, which is fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an interesting little thing to point out. If you have Hope's End as Yssaril, then you never want to do the place a mech ability. You always want to do the action card. And then that's
the only time when I think that might not be true is if you feel like you don't have time. If there's like something that really needs to like be reinforced right this second,
that
then
makes
you can get the mech now.
Because you would have to do the action. Obvi. Makes sense.
But yeah, almost always you want the filtering. It's just so good.
Wow, dang. Are there any memorable stories, memorable wins that y'all want to take us home on?
Yeah, you go first.
All right, I have one story, and this is actually not a win story. This is it wasn't a loss story either, so I'm not counting it as a win or a loss.
Interesting.
I was playing in a friendly pickup game, and I had Muaat to my left, and we were doing pretty well. And it's my boy Stads. I love Stads.
Oh, love it.
And he looks virtually at me, and he goes, and we actually swapped supports. And he goes, you have a 70% win rate with Yssaril. And he activates my systems with his War Sun and just comes in and just wipes out all of my plastic.
Wow.
He broke support to do it. And he's like, I might be giving up my game, but I'm destroying your stuff.
Whoa.
And I have to say that was probably one of the most complimentary things anybody's ever done to me.
Oh.
You're not in a position to win right now, but you're too good. Wow. I gotta crush you now. I'm gonna break support to do it.
Oh wow. Goodness gracious. That
was rough. It was a hard time. I had a hard time letting that one go. Felt bad.
Yeah.
It's like we were having a good thing, Stads. Nope, you gotta crush it.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story. It's more of an aha moment story.
Okay.
I did win the game eventually, but not directly because of this. But so for a long time, I was super scared of playing the Yssaril in a game with necrovirus in it.
Oh, totally.
Because what happens when you do that is that they take Magion, and then you have to fight them for Magion, and it's awful. And usually what ends up happening is just like they Magion you, and then you Magion them back.
And you gotta give them a pack. You say, we're just not going to mage on each other.
Yeah. Right. So I finally figured out how to do that in like a successful way. Because when I was when I was playing IRL only, my group had a weird meta, but there was a 0% chance that pact would ever happen. They just will always mage on you because you have the most cards, and then you kind of have to mage on them back at that point because that's just like the only way, basically. But when I started playing with people online, I realized that people would actually accept that pact. And so what I did is I made that deal with the Necro. I fed them the ship. That's how I got them to accept that. I sent the destroyer into their stuff so that they could eat it. And then what I realized is just that is so powerful, right? Because then, yes, they're also getting lots of action cards, but you're still able to mage on everyone else at the table. And so you're still getting everything you wanted, basically. And so I just wasn't touching Necro's stuff. And Necro takes more heat, I think, than Yssaril at the average table anyway.
Definitely.
And so it was just this added bonus of Necro with Magion. Everyone hated him and was super mad at him this entire game. And I got to just collect resources. Nobody got mad at me. And then in the end, everyone had passed, and I took about 18 actions to get the planets that I needed to win.
Wow. Totally.
What I find with Necro having Magion as well is that everybody just stops following politics.
Yeah.
You look around the table, okay, who can I Magion? And nobody has any cards. Everybody's either not drawn or they've thrown them away, used them ASAP. And now you're fighting for cards with another player, and you don't get them all yourself. You're sharing them with somebody else.
Yeah, it's not super ideal, but at the same time, if you mage on early enough in the round and the Necro are keeping their deal, then it's like pretty okay because you can't stop yourself from drawing that action card.
Yeah.
And some factions just start with neural. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Sure. I mean, no matter how it shakes out, what it ends up being is just a massive power differential between the table where there's these 2 people that have all the ACs and then 4 people just don't. And where Yssaril is kind of a faction where they're like, anything you can do, I can do better. Necro is like the other faction that does that, where they're like, I got your super hot faction tech, and also I'm Necro, by the way.
And I also have their super hot faction
exactly, tech. And I have another one, and I'm unstoppable. And I mean, that is definitely a situation in which I can see the heat is coming off of your shoulders as a faction that people usually hate very much, like.
Yeah. And wow. Speaking of the anything you can do, I can do better thing, because of action cards and because of the Ysaril's flexibility, they actually can make better use of people's commanders than they can sometimes. So one thing to keep an eye on is alliances.
Totally.
In particular.
Yes. Which are the hottest alliances for Yssaril? We got to talk about this for sure.
I love Turtle Alliance because then your riders, you can vote them through.
Course,
you're usually high-ish influence because your home system has a bazillion influence in it. You're going to get even more. You have a 2-planet home system. You probably have a decent number of planets.
Yeah.
That commander gives you several more influence, and now you're able to play your riders and vote them through yourself. It's absolutely wild. You can also trick people into giving you the point that says you can't play action cards, but you can still stall with all your action cards. People are like, we're going to get the Yssaril by giving them a victory point. And you're like, oh no, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Caluin, any favorite commanders?
I like, if you can get it, I really like the Calarius commander.
Oh, of course, yes.
That's just gross.
Yeah. Oh man, component action cards, fucking stall, beautiful.
Yep.
It's better than stall, right?
I mean,
it's like
mech. Yeah.
Well, no, it's even it can be like unexpected action.
Yeah.
Into
my
ghost step into
Zayu. Yes, love it.
Wow. You can do wild stuff that way. Absolutely, I agree.
But short of that, I like anything that makes me money. So I like the Muaat commander because once I start getting my tokens in order, I end up following a lot of secondaries.
Yeah,
I follow tech, I follow politics every round, I follow construction. Usually, it's so I like to make a little extra money.
Definitely. And and they're already influence rich. I mean, I think one of the hidden secrets of Twilight Imperium is just how important tokens are. Once you really learn that on a deep level, then your game really improves, and you realize if I just have enough tokens, being able to follow a lot of secondaries in one round can really turn around my whole situation and give me all this good stuff and everything. And but fucking A, so they're already doing that. And if they got Zayu, forget about it. That's another token. You know what I mean? That's another token per round.
Yeah.
And you can also make deals with people. If no matter in the game, you can do silly things with Temporal Command Suite.
Wow. Yes, that's right.
Should we talk about our Franken game?
Yeah, I do love our Franken game very, very much.
Oh, no.
So Elspeth and I are currently we're drafting in a Franken game.
A rotisserie Franken game.
Yeah. And it turns out that she and I are trying to build the same faction.
Uh-oh.
It's true.
She beat me to Saru. I got Zoo. And then she actually beat me to Temporal Command Suite, but I talked her out of it. So
it's a very good, advantageous deal.
You're making deals in the draft. Now that's next level. Next level.
Absolutely. But it's funny how much Yssaril is in my faction. I've got Saru, I've got the Yssaril starting fleet going on, and there may be other Yssaril things that are going to sneak their way in there.
Just leave me the flagship. I need that next. Oh,
I might. Well, you picked before me, so you're probably going to steal that from me, and I'm going to be annoyed because that was.
Probably.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, we it's true, and like just that style of that, and obviously in Franken, those pieces of the Yssaril are absolutely wild, especially because you can get the temporal command suite for yourself.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Stupid good. Stupid good.
There's too many stupid things you can do in Franken. It's weird how many of them start with, I need these 2 pieces from Ysaril's kit. So.
Yeah, and stall tactics is also fantastic in Franken.
Oh, totally.
Especially in bagged Franken, where if you just like don't get your hands on a good mech, you just can get the Yssaril one and just stall it out.
Easy. Yeah. I think I'm going to tell this story to close out our time together, and it's a funny, like, self-deprecating story a little bit, where a Yssaril early game situation just went totally and utterly and completely wrong. And I was playing a little 3-player game where there's some friends of mine that I used to live with, and I was just showing them TTS for the first time. And we just couldn't get players together. So I was like, whatever, let's do a 3-player game. I haven't done one of those in a while. That'll be like fun or whatever. I'm Yssaril. My old friend is playing the Yin, which I've recently decided is my mortal enemy. My absolute nemesis is the Brotherhood of Yin. Even though I like the faction, like straightforward, I enjoy playing Yin or whatever. Fighting against Yin, I've decided absolutely hate it, like, so much. So I'm just doing my thing. I'm getting my stuff set up, and I can't remember what planet it was. Like, maybe it was Saudor or something that was just like right next to my home system. The Yin, surprise, finds some deal with they have a flank speed somehow or something, and they just hop on the system and just take the ground. And I am so pissed. And it's like, I need my planet. I wanted the structure that was on the planet. Like, I'm just so pissed. I spend 4 of my action cards in a row, stall tactics out, 4 mechs, take them into the system. And I can't even remember what he had on the defense, but it's like a smattering of infantry. Maybe he's got like 1 mech or something like that, but it's like 4 mechs should do it, right? You know what I mean? Like that, it was that kind of situation. Bring 4 mechs. The ground combat lasts like 3-4 rounds. So I've like thrown over a dozen combat dice in total for my mechs in this combat. I score a grand total of like 3 hits. Like, talk about absolutely dismal dice odds. Like, I barely do any damage, and I just get completely whittled down and lose 4 mechs, which was 4 action cards that were like probably good action cards. You know what I mean? Like,
dice, man. Yeah.
It was devastating, and I did not feel like a strong goblin on that day. Let me tell you. Yeah.
Mechs are 50-50, and anytime you have a 50-50, you're going to miss it 90% of the time.
Oh boy.
And that's the way that math works. Yes.
Numbers don't lie.
For real.
True. Numbers don't lie.
Wonderful. Well, what a wonderful time hanging out with homeboy and homegirl and little puppy too. Don't forget about the little puppy. This has been Yssaril Talk with Elspeth and Caluin and Brassbird, and we'll catch you around. We'll see you around.
Thanks for having us. It was a joy.
And now let's chill with Big Al Cappuccino.
Cool. Such a great word, especially in a game of Twilight Imperium. X-1? Nah, X-2, bro, and I don't do no death meta. Maybe you do it this round, and if I get trade next round, I'll do the same for you. Nah, brah. Nah, not this time. Cool, cool. When you find yourself having reached an impasse and you're finding it a bit hard to move on. Cool, cool is a wonderful breaker that both acknowledges the other party's stance without admitting defeat. And if you disagree with me, cool, cool, cool.